SPL. And if you enjoyed that video that we just showed you of Tom talking for 7 minutes, then I guarantee you every other video on our channel is better than that one. That was the floor, and then everything up there from there is better. That's youtube.com/SmitePro. Go check it out for behind-the-scenes stuff and some more content around the pros if you want to get to know them better. We have one more really cool set here coming for you to close out Season 6, at least in the regular season. And to join me with that, I've got Zeros right here next to me on the desk. Zeros, we're moving into the final one. Does it really feel like we're closing everything out here today? How are you feeling?
Yeah, sure. I'm just ready for another best of 5, like the longest week ever.
That apparently it is, right? I mean, we're getting all these first ever since you've joined us. Thank you, Zeros, for helping us break a bunch of new ground. This is going to be Spacestation going up against SK. And I do think this is a set that would have been pretty easy to write off if you didn't watch yesterday's set. Spacestation Gaming looked a lot better, and I think that a lot of it was that BaRRaCCuDDa has been stepping up for them. He's playing in the mid-role there for them, and Cyno has looked a lot better too.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Cyno's coming into is like playing his playstyle now more than he'd done before, and like if it was for the game yesterday, like SK would be heavy favorites going into this game today, right?
Yes, I think so.
But now surely SSG is probably the favorites for me. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
All that really means that it's going to be a close matchup, I would say, between them. And Cyno, I think, has kind of moved into more of an initiating, shot-calling role for this team. And that's when they've looked better, when he's the one that's starting these fights off. And you let JeffHindla be the backline protector like he likes to be. Let Aqua pick his spots a little bit better to come in. And then how about BaRRaCCuDDa stepping back up into those shoes that we know that he can fill as well? It feels like, you can kind of forget that he's a hard carry for this squad there sometimes, and he has stepped back up for them too for what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, playing a lot of Hachiman, having great performance on the Hachiman. I am a bit worried though still about his role for BaRRaCCuDDa, because we've only seen him play mages, hunters rather.
Right.
I think he played some Ullr and that kind of stuff, didn't really work out. But he's only playing physical hunters right now, which kind of leaves your team open, like people kind of know what you're gonna do, right?
Sure.
So like, I'm not sure. It would be maybe if he pulls out some mage today, it would be interesting to see how he can perform on that.
That would add some depth to him, and you're going to need depth if you want to take on someone like Paul. If BaRRaCCuDDa stays in the mid lane, which I very much expect he will, then Paul will be his direct opposition. And I don't know, Paul to me has not been quite to the same level as we expected. I mean, coming out of Season 5, Paul and Sam were really the hard carries for SK, and then everyone else would, step up when they were needed. But I don't know, Paul's kind of dropped just a little bit for me off what we expected. How have you felt about watching him?
It's just like last year you look at him and he was so good, right? Like you just look at him as like one of the premier, like super good individual mechanical players, right?
Yeah.
But it's just this season in general for mid laners. I feel like this season is better for these kind of backline supportive mid lane players that like to play with your team and stuff, like while individual mid laners are kind of struggling this season a little bit more, because mainly you don't get as much farm anymore, right?
Right. And there's a little bit more coming your way now, but like you said, not nearly what it could have been in some of the years past. And I also just don't know how good some of his god pool is. I mean, the Habois, I don't know if you can play that anymore. He sometimes get punished. The Ullr can still be strong for pressure, but there's so much CC. You need someone with a CC immune ultimate, I feel like, or a little bit more safety. I don't know, maybe some of the meta has hurt Paul too, because some of his go-to picks I feel like just aren't as viable.
Yeah, I agree on that. The Hebo pick is kind of weird though, because like PandaCat was playing Hebo a lot in the start of Phase 1.
Yes.
And when PandaCat was playing it, had a lot of success with it. Paul didn't play it at all, pretty much.
Sure.
And I feel like that's always been a staple goal for Paul, so that was kind of weird. I do feel Hebo mid right now though is not that great anymore, so I don't expect it to see it now, but you never know.
Well, now we move into the picks and bans for game number 1 of the final regular season set here of Season 6. We're taking a look here at L Chuckles in the booth there right now for him. Looks like for SK, hopefully he's helping those guys out, because Spacestation looking like a more formidable opponent than you might have expected. Hercules banned out. That's specifically there for Neil, but there's still a lot of good stuff left. Thor still out there, could certainly be picked up at that very first spot, but a lot of the good stuff banned.
Yeah, Ullr, Jorm, like a lot of strong picks here. But the thing is, I don't really know what these teams prefer playing. Like, they really liked Hachiman yesterday, and Erlang was a big pick for SSG yesterday as well, so they might look for that.
That could be, but it looks like they're going to come right out with this Geb, and Spacestation keep things fairly standard in terms of where they put stuff, so this is very likely a top pick for Jeff. SK, though, do respond with that Thor, get that into Sam's hands. We talked a lot about Paul and how maybe he's not quite the level that he used to be, but Sam has really been stepping it up for SK, prioritizing him a pick that's probably just the top tier jungler you could ask for. I'm going to sign up for that every day.
Yeah, for sure. Then again, Thor is one of them picks now that you never know. Is it going to be jungle or is it going to be solo? You know, so like, it's hard to tell. That's also a signature god for Paul, right?
Exactly. Man, that's crazy. We were just talking about exactly this for Paul, and then he does come right back to the Ullr. It would appear Zapman can play the Ullr a little bit. Ullr used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Yep, the Ullr. But I do think this feels like a little bit more Paul at this point in both their careers. And then Zeros, it's almost like you're a top-tier level mid laner or something, right there on point with the Erlang Shen pick here, potentially coming out for Cyno again. And this has really enabled Cyno to be a bit of a shot caller for them. Yeah. How important is it for you to have someone who can confidently be making really strong initiations and shot calls for you?
I mean, it's good. I'm not sure if he does that for the team, but
sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's usually the one initiating and starting off fights. Well, you see a lot of, like, look at Adapting, for example. He's never the one starting off fights, pretty much. I guess the game he played Nasha he did, but like he's usually more the assassin player, the one that go in late. And then you have Cyno, which is more like, if he gets an opportunity to go on a backline with a blink, he will do it.
Sure, and they don't necessarily have to be the same one. The one who's initiating, the one who calls the shots, don't always have to be that same role, certainly right. Yep. As they bring in this Scylla for andinster, I said earlier on that, I don't know, man, Darius have been playing that Scylla at a really high level, maybe even above what Andy can sometimes play. But andinster here to prove me wrong on that one, picking the Scylla here yet again, and paired with the Gab and the Erlang Shen. That's so much setup for this Scylla. She should be able to hit home. But are you sold on this Scylla pick? We're even seeing it with Book of Thoth. Her starts are really slow.
Yeah, I don't know about the Book of Thoth actually. I would just prefer Doom or...
Sure, why not, right?
Always now, like you don't have to stack it. I mean, I get the Book of Thoth. You get more power if you're planning on building Polynomic on a Soul River and them kind of items later, but still, the movement speed you get from Doom Orb is just so good. The power curve is so much better. Yeah, I mean, it's fine either way, I think, but as you started off, Scylla, right now, I think she's fine. I still don't think she's a top mage.
Sure, still not up there at the top tier, though, getting a little bit more value towards the end of the year. She might be something safe to show right now as well, if you don't want to show what you really think is the best mid-mage, too. I think there's something to be said for that, and even Kukulkan potentially in that same area. As Kumbhakarna rounded out the first half for SK, that will likely be for Neil. Not quite the aggressive supports like the Hercules that he played, but Kumbhakarna could certainly still be good in those early fights, too. Yeah,
Kumbhakarna is insane level 1, actually. Like, his Groggy Strike is... so much. I think it's 90 base damage now, really short cooldown. The only downside with it is hard to steal jungle buffs with it, right? Say you're one-on-one-ing the enemy jungler, like it's hard to win that fight, right? Because it's such a long charge up time.
Sure.
But you can really root the enemy jungler in place and like just hit him with basics and like poke him out and like waste his time early game. Kumba's actually really good early game, probably better than most people give him credit for.
So Kumbha might still mean that Neil plans to be aggressive early on, only time will tell. SK take a shot at 2 hunters. With Scylla picked up, it almost certainly is going to be a hunter for Baron mid, to take away the Shibalanke and the Chiron, and force him to go a bit deeper into the God pool. SSG banned away 2 mages, but Merlin still comes in for Paul. Or for Zap.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
They did, before they locked in Kumbha, they did hover Hell.
Right, they did,
which
yeah.
would have been for Paul, 100%. So this could very likely be a Zapman on the Ullr as well.
That's a good point.
They haven't banned Hachiman though, which is kind of weird. They banned Karna, Shibalonk over Hachiman, and like, if they watched SSG play yesterday, they really prioritized Hachiman super highly.
That's a good point. That is the one that BaRRaCCuDDa has looked comfortable on as the tier highlighted. Wow, Aqua is super glad that he gets to pick tier, one of the best solo laners out there this late in the draft. But to be fair, he kind of gets his pick of the litter. Jormungandr still available. King Arthur still available too. Yeah. There's a lot of great solo laners, and yep, he flexes off of the tier over into the Jorm. Do you like the Jorm better here than the tier?
I really like Jorm if you're planning on playing a dive comp, which I guess they kind of like Erlang and Jorm can dive really well together, but I mean, it's just a solid pick in general, I think. Like,
can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, maybe he's afraid of getting counterpicked if he picks Tyr. I don't know what kind of counterpicks he could possibly be against Tyr, but yeah, I feel like Jorm is just, you're always in a good spot, no matter what.
At this point, I mean, you're so late in the draft that it would only be another solo laner that would have to really punish him to change it. It looks like, though, BaRRaCCuDDa will be taking the Hachiman exactly as you said. He hovered the Hou-Yi for a moment, but he came back home to one of his comfort picks, and then the Achilles almost snap-locked in over there for Belair.
Yeah, I think it was hovering the Hou-Yi because like he can get over the 4-wall then, right? With Hachiman, he can kind of get walled off, which could be trouble, but like, then again, I think he'll manage anyway. Played so well on the Hachiman yesterday.
Well, these drafts look fairly straightforward. The only question for me is who's going to be piloting the Ullr and the Merlin. Will they give that Ullr over to Paul as one of his signature picks and let Zapman take this Merlin to long lane for farm, or will they switch those around? But just based on the drafts that you're seeing here, Zeros, which way are you leaning for just based on the picks?
It's hard to say. I feel like SSG looked so good yesterday with pretty much all the picks they have. The Hachiman,
Right.
the Scylla, the Erlang did so well yesterday. So I have to give it to SSG.
I think I'm leaning a bit towards SSG too, and if you all missed out on the SPL yesterday, you might be thinking we're a bit crazy up here because they have really struggled. They have not found a set win at all yesterday, but they got 2 game wins, took it all the way to 5, and really have been looking like a whole new team. SK could potentially run into a little bit more trouble than they would have expected. Do you think they should have taken away some of these picks here, or is it just right to go into what they're playing right now?
I'm not sure. Maybe SK is want to see. Like,
Sure.
I don't think SK like win or lose today. I don't think they can advance.
No, I think they're locked for 7th.
Yeah, so like they might just see how it's gonna work out.
Well, Spacestation and SK Gaming, our final set here of Season 6, about to get underway.
Thanks so much, Finch and Zeros on the desk. And for this big last set of the season, we've got Zap versus BaRRA, NeilMah and FDA on the cast. How is the community so lucky to get such a throwback?
Oh, I'm into man.
Is this the intro we're going with? Right. I know what level we're getting out of this one. So coming into the set today, we all know SK Space Station locked in for their positions and their run through the placement phase. But a lot of this will come down to, well, looking for small improvements, I'd say, or maybe just finding a damn set win if you're Space Station Gaming.
I feel that. It's been a long time since Space Station Gaming has really been able to kind of lift the proverbial hammer. But with that in mind, SK Gaming are doing everything that in their power to kind of be the winners here. SK has kind of honestly struggled the past couple of weeks. This team was really hot historically and then kind of cooled down. But when I see Paul on Ullr and Sam on Thor, I don't know. That's the type of look that SK kind of needs to be in the good spot.
We'll start the game. You can see both the supports are doing speed buffs because that's their new buff now, at least how Season 6 has become. And meanwhile, Sanford Soccer rotated into enemy territory, stole away the red, while Cyno was looking for a bit of pressure on Zapman's Merlin early on. The desk was talking a little bit about the Merlin and the Ullr, which way they would go. It makes a lot of sense to discuss that because both Zap and Paul have fantastic Ulls in their arsenal. I guess it comes down to mid-pressure more than anything else.
A little bit. And also, I think this has been a big part of what I've really enjoyed about Zapman in his later stages of his career. You might think this.
Nah. You do realize that Groggy Strike, everyone talks about Groggy Strike being really good, right? Sure, it's good damage. It takes a century and a half to do anything.
Right, but if you show up 2 centuries early, you should be able to time it.
But then you'll probably be dead.
Well, he was hiding behind the rock.
That's true. Gem's on the other side of the map.
He was still low.
B buff going down again potentially for JeffHindla. No, he just killed the baby camp. How rude of NeilMah. How cool. That's BM. Leaving a baby camp up at the speed buff? That's rude.
I mean...
Oh, they both did it!
We'll see.
Dirty support players.
I mean, how are you going to kill anything as a level 1 Geb with no help?
He killed the speed buff. He killed the big one on his own.
It took him...
The babies take less time.
It took him about a Groggy Strike's amount of time.
Now Sam's going to be like, man, Jeff's rude. He left the camp. And Neil's like, yeah, I wouldn't do something like that. You know, I didn't do that either. All square at the moment as the farming continues here. But the pressure in mid lane is definitely there.
We were talking earlier about the Ullr selection and who's going to get it, Ullr or... Do we say Pooler? I'm not going to say it. Paul's Ullr. But what it comes down to is really what I've really enjoyed about watching Z-Man in the later stages of his career. Paul's the hot young talent, to quote an old caster. He's the rookie, man. Let Paul take over the Ullr and see what happens.
Andy needs to be very careful here. Already used the Sentinel for the dash. Sam's only level 2 there, and that could have been a different case of events if he was that 3rd level and had the wall available. But he had to just throw that hammer out, hope for the double tap. Just found the single, and the Berserker Barrage means that we'll see the survival of Andy for now.
Just like we see Zapman trying new things, we see Andy trying new old things. Space Station Gaming has struggled to find their wins, of course, and their identity, but andinster on a carry in the long lane is part of that new identity. This is how SSG has been able to find what little success they have had recently, and so as long as this continues, I'm very excited for SSG.
Well, pressure on the right-hand side from Space Station as they invade the speed buff again, or at least looked for it, but only found the Harpies there, as SK Gaming will strip the purple buff away. Now, SK in the early game is where their strength has lay this year so far. They have adapted as the season's gone on to trying to, you know, work on their mid to late game, and team fights a little bit better is where they struggled, but their early game is always very potent. They're always looking for the early invades and trying to get an early lead.
Well, that for a long time was the meta. Just push out the middle lane, and Paul was able to do a lot of that, and everybody would kind of follow suit. Now I think what's actually very positive if you're an SK Gaming fan is that I think this roster is actually per player more of a late game oriented team. They're strong at the early game and they've been faltering after the fact, but I think that's where their individual talents lie. So as they gain steam, if they gain steam, the mid and late game should bode well for them, whether it's against Spacestation Gaming or some of the top-end teams. For me, the big question marks have been Belair, sure, I've harped on that a lot, but honestly, Paul. Paul was one of my brightest spots coming into this, Graham, and unfortunately, he has not stood up the way I've wanted him to.
There is a tendency, though, in the world of Smite that a player does get a lot of positive praise for their performances through the years, or their initial inception into the league,
right.
But then they do peter a little bit. And is that a sign of people rating them too high, or is it just the fact that other players give them more respect than they used to?
I honestly think it's one of those... Paul just stopped playing at the level that he was because we saw him dominate the minor league last year and look really, really strong. And he was doing it on these pub stomp gods, quote unquote, like the Hebos and the Ullr right here. And then we said, okay, he's got to change his play style coming into the Pro League. And if you didn't watch the early parts of the Pro League, he changed his play style and was still successful. After he found that success, he walked back and said, we'll see if I can actually do what I did down there in the minor league. And he still did. And then after establishing himself as a strong mid laner to watch, everybody just shut up because he stopped giving them a reason to pay attention.
It's true. I think the other thing is, well, Season 5 into 6, a lot of meta changes in terms of where the pressure lay. You don't get as much farm in that mid lane as you used to, right?
That's a big deal.
And that can have a bit of a knock-on effect.
That's absolutely the big deal. But left side, NeilMah looks for the knockup.
Andy will send it all away, but eat a yawn and forced to beads. The burning, searing flesh from Merlin won't be enough to kill Andy, but it did at least force his ultimate to make it worthwhile. So definitely Andy's under a bit more pressure for the next couple of minutes in this lane, especially without his ultimate as well as the beats.
One of those observer bias moments. Andy didn't have to use the ultimate, but I think 99 out of 99 players wind up using the ultimate there, just in case SK decide to go a little bit deeper. But he doesn't, and so Andy wiggles his way out of first blood.
And that works out very well for SK, because that was NeilMah with the aggression who used the ultimate. They've still got Soccer on this Thor that could easily make a gank opportunity happen now. At this stage of the game, with his ultimate up, speed buff and full boots, keep an eye to see if Sam continues the pressure on this left-hand side, or if Spacestation Gaming can try and nullify it for a few minutes.
Yeah, I think it's important for Cyno to look in the mid lane, draw the eyes from SK somewhere else, because Andy should and will be the target focus from SK Gaming. Andinster on the Scylla doesn't really have the kill potential this early on. Later, he'll be a little bit troublesome, but right now, this is the world that SK can kind of step on him.
Red buff is spawning in Space Station's jungle, and Jeff going to go for a Cataclysm. Cyno following up with an ult of his own, and a good timed crush from Andy does a lot of damage to Neil, who is still alive and dancing very, very well. The rotation coming through from SK, from Paul, and potentially Zap Pincer in there relinquishes the pressure. And that was Neil being a little bit nosy into the jungle of Space Station, going, hey, is that red buff up at all? Can I look to set this one up?
That was Neil playing textbook Smite. I just highlighted how the Scylla is going to be less... This just isn't her moment right now. And so SK Gaming should look to pressure out this red buff because there is less of a threat. I'm not going to say no threat,
sure,
but there's less of a threat of the carry being a Scylla coming over and having an impactful moment. So Space Station Gaming, I was so impressed because they know that that's what SK Gaming are going to think. They group up as 4 and they completely deny the look. NeilMah comes through, knocks on the door, trick or treat, but there's 4 people there with shotguns. He's got to run away. Best case scenario, and that is a dropped kill. SSG should have gotten the kill. But if you're a Space Station fan and everything's been going Pete Tong this season, that is a great look as you see Space Station adjust to the meta and the gameplay, something they haven't been able to do for days, weeks, months.
Look at the damage of that tier 1 tower on the left-hand side already with how the pressure has been towards Andinster in this laning phase here. Consistent pressure. It's not got a kill onto him just yet, but this pressure has given Zap a 2-level lead now. And with Neil, this is what we call babysitting in the industry, of just hanging around and looking for a play.
Beads are available, so we will see a little bit of that, but ton of damage. Ultimate doesn't matter. First blood for SK Gaming.
But now the rotation in from Space Station and Zap going to be under pressure. Already used the beads and the taunt was there to follow it up. I'm a cataclysm, says Jeff, onto NeilMah as BaRRaCCuDDa is off to the races, but not quick enough to catch up with Neil. 1-for-1, but first blood goes to SK.
Unfortunate for SSG, but again, this is an identification of the understanding of what's happening here. SSG, if they don't anticipate the gank onto andinster, they're not there to make they can't rotate in time to make the counter kill. So the fact that Spacestation Gaming are able to get the secondary shot just shows that they had at least a hair of thought process there. And again, I am putting the bar very low. This is the last rounds of the limbo. But Spacestation Gaming have just not been able to climb a damn stair all phase 2. So these are the things you've got to get excited about if you're a fan of BaRRaCCuDDa and the boys. When you actually see them thinking through to the next step, playing chess instead of checkers, that's a positive, and it keeps them even with SK.
We can start to see the evolution of Space Station towards the end of the season now, where there's times where I think the lead would have been a lot bigger than it currently is, as the purple buff is invaded again by SK Gaming, and Neil will secure that one for his team, and round his waist at least, and keep this pressure rolling on this left-hand side. The right-hand side of the map, though, Aquarius is having an easier time because of all this pressure here, and he has found a bit of a lead so far over Belair as BaRRaCCuDDa is in no man's land. That wall just prevents any sort of escape. Does still have the ultimate available, and will definitely have to use it as all those red bodies are fluctuating around him.
That's why BaRRaCCuDDa likes the Hachiman. Space Station has kind of been a little bit rough with the ability to protect their carry, and moving to the mid lane means that BaRRaCCuDDa is in more traffic than he's been in a long time.
Well, under pressure again is Andin. This is just a constant chain of events where it's every single rotation in. And the best news is Neil is still up in farm while applying this much pressure in the laning phase. And it's not really coming at a cost of Zap's experience either.
Exactly. It's because it's been successful. A kill for the support, an assist for the support as well. SK Gaming, listen, I've said that I like, not only do I like andinster playing whatever he feels comfortable on, but specifically the Scylla, understanding that she has an abysmal early game. Well, it's up to the enemy team to take advantage of the abysmal early game, and if you just let her sit there and kind of soak up the sun, well, she's going to grow up to be something wonderful. SK Gaming making a point to look at the purple, look at the lane, and now finally, they get the red buff after getting the kill onto the carry and the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, no opportunity really for them to defend that red buff for Space Station, especially with the tier 1 being down. But Andy just came back to lane, walked straight into Zap and Neil again. Luckily that route did connect and Zap wasn't necessarily aware of it. But all the while, Cyno has been trying to pressure Belair, rotated earlier, got the ultimate out from him, and continuing the pressure there. So clearly, Space Station is trying to find a win on this right-hand side, but in doing so, they've left open this Gold Fury.
SK Gaming right now just nailing the fundamentals. Everything here that SK has done, I've been celebrating a lot of what Space Station Gaming has been doing because they've been responding the correct way. But SK Gaming just, they opened up, not even SMITE 101, the remedial SMITE textbook. They go, okay, there's a late game carry in the long lane. This is like season 1 when people used to try Shipalake. We'll just camp him all game, and he'll be down a couple of levels because of our ability to succeed there. And then they see their Belair getting jumped on by 2 different players. We're heavy on the solo side of the map. That means do the Gold Fury because we obviously have the numbers advantage. SK aren't reinventing the wheel here. They're just driving the car. They're doing a great job of just lining things up, doing what they're supposed to, and because of that, Graham, they have amassed a 3,000 gold lead off of only 2 kills.
Yeah, but it's all about those invades more than anything else. The secondary relics are starting to come through thick and fast, and SK are trying to grab this game by the scruff of the neck, it seems, as they look for this Pyromancer. Belair on zone duties, doing good enough work to delay Jeff and Cyno even getting in range there. So another small win again for SK. I am a little bit concerned though as this game goes on that Space Station Gaming have a chance to potentially outscale that of SK Gaming with the gods they've selected.
Absolutely. Paul and the Ullr, John and I had a conversation about Ullr and about where he falls off, or rather doesn't. Belair could be in trouble, pops the ultimate, and will walk away. It's less that Ullr kind of falls off in the late game, and more that he just hits his spike earlier than the other characters. And so what Paul will be able to do by way of combo is available for him in the early game. Later, he's not going to 100 to 0 you with a hail of arrows, bladed arrow, but the basic attacks are still there. So while I agree with you, I look at the Scylla and I look at some of the other options from SSG, mainly the Geb, and I go, this can be a late game composition. What SK have drafted as well is scary.
Well, this fight on the right hand side is breaking out a bit more so. Spacestation did take that tier 1 tower. SK frustrated with that factor and now collapsing with 3 members. Jeff arrives to the fray and Sam getting very low after that pin coming through from Cyno. And the chase could be on from Aquarius here. NeilMah is the focal target for now, but after 2 strikes from the World Serpent, the pressure's relinquished. They can't continue that chase. All the while, Paul manages to bring down a tier 1 in mid.
NeilMah did a great job of avoiding the knockup with the groggy strike last time around. When Spacestation ready to reinvest into this fight, won't come up with a kill, but gets the objective in the way of the tier 1 tower. But as you mentioned, SK had already preemptively struck and got the T1 in the mid lane.
This is a bad fight as well. Zap versus andinster in this long lane at the moment, and Zap just going to continue to pressure it all the way down, knowing the Spacestation Gaming had all their focus members that could potentially gank him on that right-hand side.
This is as old school of a matchup. I think Andy might try to go into a side jungle and pick up green buff. I mean, Zapman versus Andy in the long lane. I feel like we haven't seen this in ages, but watching them go head-to-head, playing 2 oddball characters for them, Andy traditionally an assassin player, Zapman a hunter's hunter, and both of them on mages.
Well, I wasn't. Andy did go to mid for quite a while, so he's had a little bit of a run out with the likes of Scylla. It was one of his go-tos back then as well.
Yep.
I will say, Andy's laning phase, he's very much about freezing the wave, which is not something we see as often. Even when the lane was in the middle area, he was happy to freeze it and let it farm itself out, rather than just push, pressure, move. And he's doing the same sort of thing here to try and keep Zap overextended. The problem is his teammates are just not available to come over to cause a problem for Zap.
You nailed it right there with the overextension of Zapman. SK Gaming has had the control of the long lane, and so here they're trying to take it back.
Neil going in very aggressive towards JeffHindla here on this Geb. Early game, Geb is weaker and has an opportunity to die, but at least he'll get the Cataclysm off before falling down to Zap. In the sky, Paul was still hanging, and he will dunk onto Andy, perfectly timed. No continuation of the follow-up from him, but Paul gets hit by that root, and I tell you what, that root was important, because I think Paul could have killed him. Zap got a bit aggressive. The wall from Sam prevents the chase.
Oh!
Cyno under pressure.
Zapman 1 HP!
No
Gets
HP.
taken out by Aquarius. The knockup on NeilMah as well, but now Aquaman surrounded by SK Gaming jerseys. Breathe is good, and Sam goes down.
Yeah, that was lucky for Aquarius, because he was nearly just out of range of that tremble connecting, but it was enough damage to bring him down. The red buff would be secured from Spacestation, and the gold lead is still at 4,000. So nothing has really changed. It's still a slow Peter in favor of SK in their favor, but Spacestation are holding on here.
Who is Peter, and why do you keep knocking him?
Peter's down.
Is this?
Peter's
I mean,
off.
Peter he's trying.
Listen, we're not on the tiny desk set up now, okay? Let's focus on the game, shall we? Don't be asking Adonis who his favourite caster is. Of course he's going to say himself. What else was he going to say there? You know?
Oh,
I'd ask him Pom Pom for his full name. Like, that was a video in itself with how long that bit took just for him to say his name. That's why we shortened it to Pon, or Pom Pon at the worst.
What's really funny is that in the internal system, if you wanna email somebody, right, it's their real name. Pon Pon is Pon Cooper.
I have an issue with people's real names where I type in Clumsy D when I'm trying to get a hold of Clumsy.
Yeah.
And I forget his real name. I'm like, wait, what is his real name again? Begins with a D. Oh, Deshaun. Yeah, now I remember. Pressure on Jeff for a second, but he'll roll out. Epic uppercut from Neil does connect and force away BaRRaCCuDDa, who has to use the horse too. But the lightning from Thor will strike Barra's head.
That's
now
why I
Jeff
love it.
Under pressure too, and he's going to be another casualty.
I love the choice of the Thor. BaRRA has specifically gone to this Hachiman. I've mentioned it for a myriad of reasons, and all of the answers to those reasons are because he can get away. And so Sam for Soccer selecting the Thor, there's no way you can run away from that at all.
Oni Fury goes down at the same time, and Andinster does do his best split pushing he can do at this stage, but he may get punished here by Belair, the I'm a monster.
Oh.
Just out of it.
Yeah, just rough.
Oh,
You've got to hit those.
This rotation from SK Gaming could cause a couple of problems. And he's sleeping. I don't think he had a choice in the matter. And now he's going to be left for dead. The right call, in my opinion, because Cyno needed to get out of there before he fell down too. But it does open up SK to look at a Pyro or even an FG.
Yeah, big boy.
You sure?
Fire Giant all the way. You've already chased out andinster completely. You watch Cyno walk back half HP. The rest of the team will show up, but you've got the Merlin, you've got the Ullr, you've got the damage, you've got the Fire Giant.
I like the idea for him, Jeff, but he may just fall down. No ultimates available for a space station in this one. And Paul, well, he still has his because he's Ull, but everybody else is down. Cyno came round the back and he's trying to cause a distraction here. Get away from his carries, and he's going to fall, potentially, through this ultimate from Sam that connects.
Yeah, it's up to Sam here. Jungle v Jungle.
Paul's
goes ahead, grabs it. Paul over the wall. Gotcha.
And now BaRRaCCuDDa, who's in no man's land, will end up falling down. Did get the mounted archery off, is now Zapman will fall to Aquarius, but the executes are there for Belair. The second one not really needed. Remember, that was an FG team, so taking out Zapman does limit some of their push power. Not a whole lot, though, when you've got an Ull in mid.
That's the key. Whenever you've got the Fire Giant, I always think about the structure damage that you get, and the Hunter. The carry is the one that you absolutely want to strip it from if you're looking to strip it from anybody. As you said, it's not a bad thing to take it away from Zapman, but Paul's really the one that can make use of it.
And Paul just forced the beads and the ultimate out of andinster there defensively as he tried to run away. Good pressure from him, then steals the red buff as Belair and Soccer split up the map and take down that tier 2 on the right-hand side. Good, comfortable lead for SK Gaming here so far. And it all really started in that duo lane from the pressure from Neil, consistent.
Exactly. Keep the mage down. Scylla is going to be the biggest threat. You know, we have said it so much that has become a meme, but at the end of the day, cliches are cliche for a reason. A single Scylla ult can literally change the course of a game. I don't care if you're 0-4-1. I don't care if you're 0-10-1. You get all those items. It's the last team fight of the game, and I'm a monster, 3 dudes in the brainstem, you win the game. And so keeping that Scylla down was a big point.
It really is what mages do, right? They have one big ultimate for the most part, and it'll change your game.
Yep.
For Kulkan style. I think the difference is because Scylla gets a reset, right?
Yes.
I think that's the biggest difference maker there.
That's exactly it. It allows her to waterfall throughout the team fight. You get the reset, and you're able to just go ahead and continuously deal the damage. I mean, look at the numbers. 800 plus 120 of your magical power. Right now, this ability does about 1,300 damage, give or take, and that before protections, of course. And when you get the kill, you do it again. And so you pop this halfway through the team fight, you execute the squishy while your team is still lowering other people's threshold, and then you hope that you can continuously keep it going.
As we saw that talk there, just to remind you all, 70% movement speed at max rank of I'm a Monster. Bonus movement speed, 70%. You are zooming. Mercury would be very upset if he knew about that.
What I like
70%.
35, 35, 35.
Because it doubles
35.
it, right? That's
70.
why. Yep. That's
70.
The reason. 70. Right at the end. 35 all the way, but the 70 because it doubles when you max out Scylla's abilities. That's part of a passive there. 12-4 then as it stands, and SK looking very dominant in game 1. Obviously, we've said this before, these two teams are already locked in to go to the placements. Spacestation Gaming will be taking on Sanguine, which is going to be a very interesting tale.
Oh, man.
I'm sad.
I am a
I'm
big
happy.
Sanguine fan. I love this Sanguine team. But, oh man, lo siento, Hardcore will not be able to be here. They won't have their solo laner.
Really?
Yes.
Didn't know that.
It's very, very unfortunate. We have not been able to see this team at LAN at full strength. So, Spacestation Gaming fans, I mean, cross your fingers.
What's a leg up then? I mean, I guess I'm going to have to rework the script because I had Space Station and Sanguine going, and they were both going to run the table after that game. SK, meanwhile, they'll either take on Hype Unit or the winner of the console series that goes on the Sunday. We'll find out who their opponent will be after that broadcast on the Sunday placements. And we can talk a little bit more about SK's opportunities. But that is a real opportunity to be a bigger step up here to place one of the lower-end minor league teams or a console team based off their seeding here.
Sam's going up. Sam's going up. SK want to fight, but is it left or right? It's going to be on the right-hand side. Sam lands on Andy, forces out the ultimate, and BaRRaCCuDDa will shade over there to help out. The 2v2 on the left side, mainly going Space Station's way.
I like the idea of trying to split this up from SK, but Space Station Gaming are doing a very good job defensively of holding their own. Sure, it cost Andy his beads and his ultimate, but at least he's still alive to clear a couple waves out. This right-hand Phoenix getting a lot lower, a lot quicker than that of the left-hand side, and credit where it's due to the fact that, well, that's an Ullr on that left-hand side more important.
Exactly. I loved it. This was a very, very cool play. It was very, very intelligent the way that the Thor went up and split left and right. SK won't get anything for it, and that is a credit to Space Station. That is the best play that they've made since minute 3.
So Space Station on the defensive here, just waiting for the right opportunity. The best thing that could have happened for them is survive through that first Fire Giant buff, and they've done just that. Now it's time for them to try and get a bit of control back in their own jungle. Push out these lanes. They're all pressured from multiple areas here. Get some wards in the jungle, because you can see it's littered in red at the moment with all these sentries placed around. So you've got to make sure you get rid of some of those just to allow Space Station to creep in without being fought when they least expect it.
Such an important stop for Space Station Gaming. They prevent SK from getting the Phoenixes. Sure, the towers are gone, but that's just what happens when you go for the Fire Giant. You've got to expect that swing. Space Station are down 15k roundabout. They're not going to be able to take this Fire Giant fight straight up, but the work that they did beforehand negated a single Fire Giant. As we know, there's a ceiling. You can only buy 6 items, 7, sure, and a half with the elixir, but you can only buy a certain amount of items. So Space Station right now, they will never be down as much as they were the last shot. So they got that one stop. Now, this is going to be the second hardest fight. If SSG can get another stop the way they were able to just before, they are one stop away from being tied up, and that's what they're looking for. They know that they can't fight. That's why they relinquished the Fire Giant. But if they get this defensive look, next Fire Giant, they can fight.
Yeah, experience is still very important to Space Station with nobody on the team level 20 just yet, whereas SK, it's only Neil who's not level 20, and that's not really a big problem. You're used to that as a support player anyway. I do like what we just saw on Cyno there. He pressured out the left-hand side, getting some farm, which we were just talking about being important for him, but also slowed down SK's advance towards this Phoenix line. That left-hand lane is important to them to apply pressure in multiple areas. So everybody just jumping down that right-hand side was very easy for Space Station to just hold the line of this Phoenix area.
That Primal Fury. Usually, if you've been listening to the broadcasts, you know Primal Fury is not my favorite. But SK Gaming getting that hurt Space Station. I love the Oni. I think the Oni does a lot for teams because they're able to kind of have a pseudo 6th member push up as a wave. But with that Primal Fury right here, that is arguably the worst one that SK, the best one for SK to get, the worst from Space Station's perspective as we sit with the defenders. Because that means, as I said, the next Fire Giant, if Space Station make it there, should be the even fight that they've been asking for. Well, the problem is, with SK getting that green guy, that's going to give them 7% boon. So Space Station will fight uphill no matter what.
Here we go again, though. Blinking this time the left-hand side from Jeff, looking at Paul, but Paul smelt the danger and backstepped nicely. Belair, though, will eat that Cataclysm, but it's not a whole ton of damage. In the sky, SMITE looking at Andy, but Andy did manage to get away from the initial. That double tap was way off the mark. The follow-up is there, however, but the I'm a Monster to respond. Belair still giving chase and forcing Andy all the way back. Right-hand Phoenix is still up, left one is down, and still Cyno being pressured and executed by Belair.
Cyno almost made the move, but couldn't. Double kill for Scary D. BaRRaCCuDDa bites back. It's 5 for Space Station, and it's a 1 for 2 so far.
Sam will get the 3rd kill. It could have been a triple for Belair, and now they'll turn back around towards this right-hand Phoenix. SK Gaming have just not let up the pressure from minute 1 in this game, and they're looking good to take game 1 here. The problem is they've got no minions, and they've changed their mind all of a sudden. Like, yeah, probably should just get that Phoenix for safety.
SK Gaming got here by way of fundamentals, and if they walked into the Titan room haphazardly, I would shake my head. I love that they go back, they take the Phoenix, they wait for the minions. It's all about the fundies here, and they're looking at the Titan.
And that's it for game 1. Relatively quick with how this, well, week's gone, to be fair, between these teams. Space Station back to the drawing board after game 1. They allowed Andy to get the free farm on the left-hand side. SK said no. Although this defense is going to be okay, or is it?
Yeah, we've got some last-minute damage there. Almost, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, folks.
It makes no
love that.
sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Who plays horseshoes?
Oh, you?
I don't even know what it is. Well,
Well,
I kind of do now because you've said it so much.
Sure. Well, and what cornhole? You play cornhole?
Yeah, you put the beanbag in the hole, right?
Yeah, but if you get close, you get a point.
You do?
Yep, that's
Oh.
the same idea as horseshoes. And hand grenades, you don't have to hit the person like doink.
So
You can get close.
It's only close in horseshoes, hand grenades, and cornhole.
Yeah, but that's that's too long of a statement. It's just too long.
SK, take game 1. We'll be back for game 2 after this short break and see if Space Station can bounce back.
INAP, powering the control room for the SMITE Pro League. SK Gaming come out of the gate strong in game number 1 and kind of relegating BaRRaCCuDDa and andinster to the back foot. They never got off the ground that time, so it's 1-0 in favor of SK. And Zeros, who's up here on the desk here with me, tell me what you thought happened there in that game, man. How'd that one get so far out of control for Space Station? Because really, they never much looked into it. SK got off to a really good start.
Yeah, that was weird, man. I feel like SSG hardly got to play the game that game. Like, NeilMah had some couple of good ganks on andinster. They put him behind. And then I think BaRRaCCuDDa tried to rotate to dual lane to help andinster out. And meanwhile, Paul was just free farming in mid. Like, they were just losing everywhere. And honestly, that game wasn't even close at any point.
It really was not. SK were in control for most of it. And we talked about at the beginning whether the Ullr would be going to Paul or to Zapman, and the Merlin did end up going to the long lane for Zapman. They gave Paul this Ullr, and he was able to have a good game on that in the mid. But this is how things started. Great initiation from Neil. andinster, really just not a whole lot you can do about this one.
Yeah.
And that was multiple times where it felt like andinster was kind of not overreacting, I would say, but using beads and his ultimate instead of just going right to the ultimate. Like maybe it wasn't quite there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I think Kumbha blink ult is really hard to react to.
That's hard,
I think it's a lot easier to react to like a blink Nash ult, for example. So like the Kumbha one is hard, and I mean, once he does get hit by that, he pretty much get one-shots when he lands, so like, can't get out of that one.
No, that's a tough spot, but he would go on to continue to struggle this game, and then Paul back to that Season 5, early Season 6 form here on this Ullr this game. And maybe that's just what SK needed, was to come in, kind of get their playmakers making plays again, getting back into that groove that was working so well for them when they made their big run at the end of Season 5. And Paul never misses, of course, on this Ullr.
Yeah. Still though, so weird, man. SSG gets the free picks they did so good with yesterday. The Hachiman, the Scylla,
and
the
Erlang.
Erlang for Cyno. Just and they get all them free picks, and it's like SK kind of disrespect them here, like not banning a single one of them, and they just—it's not even close. Like, yeah, I don't know what SSG has to make some drastic changes here in the upcoming games to stay relevant here, I think.
And SK, I think, it's not so much that, that they didn't seem to respect these picks, and maybe they saw something else where it was like, yeah, you can let them have these picks, but you can't let them free farm on this Scylla. I mean, BaRRaCCuDDa likes to build pretty greedily towards that late game. This time, it looks like, or not BaRRaCCuDDa on the Scylla, but andinster did. This time he goes the dual mob over in the long lane, but we've seen the Book of Thoth pairing with that. Don't let them get comfortable. Don't let them make it to the late game where they can have some good team fights around all that damage from Andy, and they're set up for Cyno. I mean, did Cyno even get to do the blink engage this time for BaRRaCCuDDa or for Andy to follow up? I mean, you barely got to see it.
No, not really. He had a counter gank in duo lane where he killed Zapman one time, I think, but apart from that, I feel like he couldn't do much this game. Like, they were so far behind everywhere, and like, whenever they were grouped to fighting, like, I felt like they just couldn't fight into SK.
Now, the good news is that SK did stall a little bit on that Titan Siege toward the end of the game. I don't know if stall's quite the right word so much as, you know, they were trying to grab some kills and everything else there too. But that I guess that is something for Spacestation. Their defense does seem to at least partially be there for them. They just need to make sure that Baron and Andy aren't under so much duress, because it felt like almost every fight, Andister's beads were on cooldown, or his ultimate was on cooldown. He didn't even get to be in the fight because he was getting pressured out so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to Jeff. Like, same yesterday, I think he played Terra 2 games. He did win 1 game on it, but it had very little impact in the early game. And then he switched to the Kumbha, a little bit more aggressive, and it looked really good. Like, they were making plays in the early mid-game. Now he's back on this super passive Gab, while NeilMah is on the Kumbha. So, like, it just... I think he needs something that can make some plays early game, or put some pressure at least for SSG.
Yeah, this Gab that he picked, I mean, Gab very often in those first few levels is a bit of a non-factor. And remember how this game started? The supports kind of swapped speed buffs or something like that, and it was a bit of a weird start here this time. But if NeilMah is in the game, you can expect to be one of those weird starts. He's almost just like a Roar in that every game he chooses to be aggressive early on. SSG, though, go back to the very similar band to the Hercules, but not going to let Paul Ullr this time.
Gotta respect that, man. Maybe get rid of the Hebo here too.
Sure, yeah. Try and limit Paul and not let him have one of his monster performances. SK from second pick are going to be doing the Isis Persephone ban, which you very much have to. They also ban the On Her, so I suppose that is another Paul ban in a way. You don't want On Her mid coming out.
Paul on Honor has not looked impressive any time we've had it, though.
Sure.
I think Hal, Hebo, and Ullr are his 3 gods that he consistently look good on. And I guess Persephone now as well. I think he had some good performance on Persephone and he wins some games. So I guess he has 4 now. But apart from those 4 gods, I don't think Paul has looked at, like... I don't see the honor ban, like, I don't understand it.
SSG take a bit of a flyer with that On Her ban. Thor makes it through. They snatch that one up for themselves. That one could be for Cyno. It could easily go over to Aquarius as well. We'll give that one a bit of a flex tag. But NeilMah liked the way the Kumbo worked for him, and I have to agree after watching the game. He first picks this one, and then where will they go from here? Will they want to go ahead and get something great for Belair, like a tier or something like that, or what do you think?
That's a good question. Set is over. We haven't seen Set in a
He's dropped a bit, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's right? Do you think Set's value has gone down, or should he still be a top pick here right now?
I think Tyr and King Arthur and them gods can contest him in lane, and I think they're also better in late game than Set is. I guess that can depend a little bit on comps and stuff, but like, I don't think it's like super amazing. The problem with him, he has no CC, right?
Yes, and it requires a really narrow situation for him to be the most effective, one where the rest of your team is at least relatively even if you're not in the fight, and then he can come in and be that impact player, as opposed to something like a Thor or King or Tier King Arthur, which are in there right away. And speaking of that tier, that's picked up for Spacestation right away, which means that Thor must be coming down to Cyno in the jungle, and the Soul, that just feels like BaRRaCCuDDa all over.
You say 4 for Cyno. Andinster played 4 yesterday.
Oh, that's right, yeah. That could be Thor to the ADC role. You're right.
They didn't look too great.
No.
hopefully we don't see it again.
Yeah, hopefully it's Thor for Cyno.
You never know these days with Andinster.
Andinster's playing just about whatever he feels like at this point, man. He has been all over the map in terms of what he's been prioritizing. So if I'm SK, I wouldn't even worry about it too much. We'll see where those picks end up going for Space Station. But the Yorm comes in for SK, so that makes me think this set then must be for Sam in the jungle, because they already have the Kumbha support, Yorm solo, and then you give the set over to Sam for soccer.
Maybe it's something Zapman's gonna try to play. Maybe we get a set
80, a set versus the Thor in the long lane, as everything's just gone to the wind. Space Station now have the same thought process you do about Paul. Ban away this Ullr, ban away this Hell, not let him get some of those priority picks that he's looked really good on. As SK ban away the Gab and the Terra, they don't want JeffHindla to get one of his comfortable backlining supports.
I think if I were SK, I would probably let them have them, because I feel like when he's playing this passive support, I feel like that's when they get run over in the early game, and like they don't get any momentum to like even start contesting like Gold Fury fights and that kind of stuff. So, but I mean, we'll see what. Kumbha was the thing that Jeff did perform really well on yesterday, and now that's out. So like, what other aggressive supports can he turn to here?
Ullr taken away from Paul as well, so they are really doing everything they can to limit that mid pool. Ho Yi comes through. This could still be for Paul. We have seen some Ho Yi mid, and this is something he certainly can play well, but this could just as easily be for Zapman. If you're a Space Station, you still don't quite know for sure where really any of these picks are going, because the set could still even come down to Zap at this point. The Ho Yi mid could be, so having all that flexibility, I imagine, makes it pretty difficult in the drafting phase.
Yeah, I like the Xingjiang actually. Kinda similar to Kumbha.
Yeah, still lets you be
Way
aggressive.
more aggressive than like Gab, for example. So I do like the Xing here if they decide to go for that. The Hu Yi on the other hand, I feel like that's more of a Zapman god than a Paul god, I think, but you never know.
So we're still potentially waiting on what Paul will pick. If that Pele does get locked in, though, I don't know if that lends more credence to your Thor long lane or not, or maybe it's Pele ADC for andinster. I mean, obviously Andy's comfort is jungle, so I mean, maybe he is leaning towards some of these assassins, but no, they move away from the Xingqiang, and Space Station lock in the Athena. That can be aggressive, but it feels a bit more set up.
So awesome.
And there's the
It is the
Pele.
4 ADC, I would assume, unless it's Pele. Thing is, yesterday he was against Ying Wei when he played it, and you can poke Ying Wei, but you won't get much for it, right? She's just gonna fly back to lane. With Hu Yi, if you poke him, he has to at least run back to lane, so maybe he can get something off the poke, he can do this, so it might be a better matchup.
Get some pressure in that long lane this time as Serqet comes through, so you might have had a good eye there, Zeros. The Serqet jungle makes me think it's more likely the set comes down to Zapman in the long lane, potentially, and then the Ho Yi in mid for Paul. These drafts are all over the place. It is hard to call at this point. Do you have one that you like a little bit more, even if you don't necessarily know where they're all going to be going?
What the hell is going on here? I don't know, man.
I mean, I agree with you. These are definitely different than what we've been seeing up until now. These are some flexible picks that really could end up in either spot. But which one are you, I guess, favoring a little bit more, even if you don't know where they're going?
I guess SK, they have
It's a
Jormungandr,
toss-up, right, at this point. I mean, these drafts are just that close right now, so I don't blame Zeros for considering these two to be that tied here at this point. But SK has a lot of potential pressure they can establish in this Kumbhakarna and the Serqet early on the left side of the map. Whichever side, whether they end up in the support or jungle, I imagine those two guys are going to be looking to be aggressive right from the beginning of the game.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm just still trying to figure out like what makes sense with these comps, but
Well, what are you thinking? Where do you think they're most likely to end up here at this point? Well, we don't have to suppose, I suppose, any longer. Space Station versus SK. Let's go ahead and move into game number 2.
Man, we bring Zeros. He's supposed to be an analyst, and he can't even clearly tell that it's going to be Belair on Jormungandr, Serqet jungle, Paul on Ho Yi mid, NeilMah on the Kumbhakarna, and Zap on set. Of course that's the case. And of course it's Cyno on Pele and Andy and long lane as Thor. Like, who would have thunk it, Tom? Of course.
I mean, you're doing this whole incredulous bit, but I'm sorry. I think it all makes sense. I think it makes total sense. We've been saying, and last time andinster played,
You would, by the way.
of course I
be
would.
the
I am the defender of the off meta. andinster.
Checkmate, is it back?
It could be depending on what you select elsewhere. But
Oh,
that's just
don't know.
Last time Andy brought out the Thor carry was not yesterday, but last week, and it didn't win the game, sure. But, again, I maintain, just like the Hades play, that Andy comfort is key when he's playing carry. And with that in mind, Thor, I'm down to give it another shot. It's been successful in the solo lane, which means it can lane well. It absolutely can wiggle away from repeated ganks. I think it's going to be safer than the Scylla. I'm here for this.
Well, going into this game, hold that thought, as Sam was looking to try and invade here and did a good job of it, but now he's under pressure from Jeff and Cyno. The blink will come up as he's not kept in combat, but the double tap was potentially available for Andy. It would have been a kill as Cyno and Jeff try to strip away the purple buff. Sam comes back in with the support of Zapman alongside him, and they'll walk away relatively unscathed, just trying to control their own half of the jungle, and are successful in doing that.
I mean, that's Deathbane. You're just not going to compete with the Deathbane over there. As much high praise as I sing for Space Station Gaming giving andinster to Thor one more time, the problem is, across the way is the 1v1 specialist. You've got Zapman long lane on the set. This is I love this choice, mint. Set, carry, set solo, put him in the lane, and let him 1v1 somebody. That's what this god wants to do, and Zapman's going to give it a shot.
I just honestly don't know how this matchup goes in the long lane, though. Set versus Thor. Like, it's not one we've seen too often.
Set wins.
You 100%? I disagree.
No,
The CC is one of the counters to Set.
Exactly, but Set, and what basically it just comes down to player execution, but Set will always be the aggressor. Set should always win this one, and it's up to Thor to get away. Now, Thor can get away by way of the stun and by way of the Mjolnir, but it really is up to Set to force that out.
Set gonna go and try and keep the pressure in lane, but at the moment, with him being out of mana right now, andinster's under the tier 1 tower, with Cyno now rotating over here as well. So this is an answer back from Spacestation, clearly, to try and do exactly what SK did in game 1 of give Andy this pressure in lane. Zap wants some pressure relieved here with him being low mana, and that's why Neil and Sam are on the way. But I know Cyno sense the danger here, so they'll fast clear this wave, I expect, and try and get out of danger. But Neil's not going to let that happen. And Cyno getting yawned on has just set up the whole squad to bring him down for first blood. Sam also getting credit for the kill.
Beautiful setup there by SK Gaming, and Andy will be able to pick up 1, maybe even 2.
You won't.
Sam runs away.
Don't think he's got the hammer.
But what did that's the comfort in Andinster. If Andinster picks a meta pick that's away from his own sort of personalization, he doesn't go back in and get the answer back, which is incredibly important, by the way. That could definitely have just been a one and done. Very important for Andy to go ahead. But if I could break down that gank real quick, SSG kind of on different pages. Andy's pushing the tower in, and Cyno is acting as a ward, basically just making sure that if anybody rotates, he's able to call out and go, hey, they're coming, back off. And that gives Andy enough time to back off. Then, Cyno kind of looking for a gank. Andy peels back a little too late, and SK Gaming saw it, read it, and went threefold and brought 3 players to a 2-man gank party. So Spacestation kind of made the right move, but didn't back off enough, and SK just brought numbers.
Belair under pressure from Aquarius at level 5 on tier is not a good place to be, and the Lawbringer will not connect, and Belair got enough time to actually get the World Serpent off, and I believe hit level 5 too, just to get away. Sam was in the area to help out. Well, this is the strength of tier that a lot of people are starting to notice now. Andy on the left-hand side under pressure again as Neil is here one more time.
Still, uses beads, could get out of this. Don't forget that passive certainly helping him out, and Jeff's going to blink forward. There's a taunt, double tap, spin, win, and that's going to be 1 dead Kumbhakarna.
There's good response from Space Station then, because every time SK are now turning up here, I'm seeing people from Space Station arrive. And funny enough, I think it's one of the reasons we see the Athena in the draft.
Yes.
Is just in case this is the state of affairs. On top of that, Andy's definitely going to be much more survivable than that of a Scylla, and that taunt may have just saved his life.
And that's what I was talking about. Set has this 1v1, but Thor has a lot of tools to get away from it.
Sure.
I really doubt, and we're never going to see the straight 1v1 because SK and Space Station are going to have a lot of time in this long lane. But Set is going to start this fight and end this fight unless Andy wiggles his way out. And he's got a lot of tools to do so.
You can see that in terms of the builds between Andinster and Zapman so far. Zap rushed the tier 3 boots in the Warrior Tabby, whereas Andy did go for the Warrior's Blessing at the start of the game. So he recognizes he's going to eat a lot of poke potentially from this set, but wants to try and weather the storm and survive some of that burst.
Well, it's also the sustain. Zapman's going to have sustain by way of the chalices that he purchased, even though Thor does have them himself, and the ultimate. Andy is only going to get any return by proccing off that Warrior's Blessing. So without that, it is a little bit of an exchange there looking for sustain.
Pings on the left-hand side coming down from Space Station. I think that was just Andy saying, this is where he is, Cyno. Come on in for the gank. And here comes Cyno wrapping around the back. Minion Wave didn't catch him just yet, but it will. And Zapman has stepped up to try and clear the wave. Knocked up in a world of hurt. Tries to live as long as possible. But what a great job from Andinster to tank some of those tower shots.
Big play there, and that was just an understanding of how much mana Andy had. Cyno's likely dead here, and unceremoniously falls down. Oh well. Great job, though, by Andy to call Cyno there when he saw that Zap had 0 health. Mana, not health.
Does that end up being like an even trade or in favor of either side with Cyno dying after that fact?
It's much more in favor of Space Station because this is the tale of the carries. Zapman dies, and with Zapman dead and Cyno going down, that means Zap gets no credit, not even assist credit, because he's nowhere near there. And so with that in mind, Space Station is theoretically putting up Andy a little higher than Zapman. This is what players are fighting for. They're carries right now.
with the goal situation. It's all tied up at the moment. The fight over the Tomaku, something that doesn't get glossed on as much from the casting element because, well, it's not really fun to cast some people hitting it as Andy's going to trade out ultimates there, potentially.
Fight.
Against that. No,
Fight.
Got his
Fight. He's going to fight.
In. Don't think he's going to get any more than that, however, though. And Andy will just fall back towards the tower and be safe for now. Jeff, NeilMah both looming in the area. No blink available for Neil. He just used it in the last engagement. It's good to see Jeff with a bit of an experience lead based off that, however, though, with this extra farming he's able to get up to here. But these Tomakus, I was just going to bring it back. Well, I say that, but BaRRaCCuDDa could be dead. Nope. We'll get to the World Serpent in time. Just needs to be careful about his position on exit and wisely going back for that second one. Yeah, that extra mana and stuff you get from the coup is great. Anyway, moving on. Sam blinking in, finds Jeff, and Jeff was lazy backing. And by lazy backing, I'm pretty sure I had the shop open there. It was clear as day with how the damage cancellation pulled him out of the shop. And he went, oh, where we've got to go. But they didn't commit to that, funny enough. They didn't go for anything more than that. I thought they might have.
I thought so as well.
Yeah.
Zapman and NeilMah didn't have any information on anybody else on the map.
Was it Thor they were after?
I mean, it was just pretty much anybody who would show up. SK Gaming, though, has been very, very local. And so Space Station did not want to, or excuse me, SK didn't want to full commit knowing that Space Station would be able to rotate over.
Red buff spawning for Space Station. BaRRaCCuDDa on this soul, trying to bring it down, but NeilMah is just going to hang around and be a nuisance. Even throws a groggy strike away so he doesn't do damage to it. And now the uppercut's here because Paul's cleared out mid. Paul won't follow up. They're a little bit concerned about position of andinster here. This buff does go down as Andy gets traded with Sam for soccer in the jungle, but NeilMah's health bar is dropping lower and lower, and this is going to cost SK a life.
That was a good call by NeilMah, though. He could have continued walking towards Paul, and that would have put Paul into harm's way because Space Station would have had to literally follow up on the support player. So by Neil making his pathing towards the mid lane, that separates him from his mid lane carry, and that allows the rest of the squad to sort of focus down Neil instead of the other carry.
Now you can just see the Aquarius in the situation here, continue to pressure this wave as much as possible. Didn't go for the Gladiator shield this game. I guess that's because he's up against this Jormungandr more than anything else. But a blink from Jeff and a ton ends the life of Zapman there in that trade up against andinster. This is what this match is all about.
When we look at tier, the Gladiator shield isn't always where he wants to go, especially against the magical dealer, like you said, the Jormungandr. You're going to see the runic shield come out. But even after this, tier's got enough sustain, and no such thing as too much sustain, I suppose.
Oh, Sam, who was just trying to clear the wave on the left-hand side. We caught the tail end of that. Looks like Jeff and Andy combining yet again with andinster's ultimate to bring down another kill. They're finding a lot of fruitful results here in this left-hand side just now, Space Station.
And that's what I'm saying. I think there's something to be said about Thor just being good right now. That's why solo laners are playing him and junglers are playing him. But I will say this until the cows come home. Comfort is key. It's very important, and it's not just because of this intangible, well, when I feel good, I look good. No. Andy's been playing this character since 2012. He knows all of the ins and outs. He knows the timings. He knows the combos. He knows the counter combos.
Wait. But those combos changed recently, right? So he's different
Not even.
now.
They just got him literally flashy. They made him flashy. But
lightning flashy.
Exactly. It's just an understanding. And andinster, Thor, I don't care what position he is in, you don't take Thor away from Andy.
Well, the ward wars have begun on this dual lane now. Both players dropping wards consistently to try and keep it in check, but you saw that damage from that double tap.
And that is where things can go in the way of Thor to this 1v1. Zapman will have Kingslayer to be able to heal it all up, but if Andy is on point with that poke, it prevents Zapman from coming close. The way Zapman was able to zone away the Scylla last game, that is going to be something that he can't do.
Really good opportunity for Space Station here, because Zap was forced to base there after Andy's double tap. And a few other members of SK did it at the same time, and Space Station just found a huge window. In game one, it was SK in the same sort of situation. And Space Station giving as good as they get. They're going to lose Aquarius for this, though, unless...
Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I don't like this. Jeff's going to join the party. It's after the fact. Aqua will get knocked up. He might be able to get out of this. There's the taunt. He's gone.
BaRRaCCuDDa turns around, drops the Supernova, eats an epic uppercut for the pleasure, and on landing has the disapparate to get away from Belair. But Paul now on the rotation too. Jeff going to do his best body blocking as always to peel him away. So it ends up being a 1 for a gold Fury at this stage in favor of Space Station.
No good deed goes unpunished. Jeff, very lucky that he doesn't get in trouble for that one, because that's a situation where you go, all right, so it didn't exactly work out the way the graphic in the textbook shows, but too many people beat up our solo later and we get a Gold Fury. If Aquaman dies there, oh well. We got the Gold Fury. So as soon as I saw Jeff channeling the ultimate, that was a mistake in my eyes, but at least they only lose one.
Cyno going in deep, trying to steal away the blue, but not only that, get some pressure on to SamphaSoccer, who's level 8 here, by the way. Still looking to put the pressure on, but with Neil in tow, it forces Cyno back. Ultimate was consumed, at least, at the tail end there, as now Zap versus Andy, the battle continues and the beads have been used.
Zap is going to go ahead and look for the 1v1. The double tap is avoided. And that's Zapman. He's breathing heavy after that.
Those left-right steps from both those players to try and counteract the hammer throw of like, well, if I go left, then the hammer's going to come back this way. Such a good battle.
I wanted to see more Zap. You know, it's funny to say I want to see more aggression from Zapman, but if he actually commits those basic attacks, he gets more healing, and Andy might even die there.
I don't know, I mean, Andy still had at least one relic up. I don't think he'd had the secondary relic that he's just gone back for now, but the secondary relic is in play. So we'll see how this plays out. The worst thing is Zap did use beads in that little skirmish. And now with Neil rotating over here, look at where Jeff is. He's also in position for the blink taunt to try and punish Zap again. Secondary relic's available for Zap, funny enough, but he's not gone back just yet to get it. He will be blinked on. Thor coming in too. Neil, get here soon. Your boy needs you. Too little, too late. And now it's Kumbhakarna under pressure. But the abilities all being consumed means that he'll be able to walk away relatively unscathed.
So straight up 1v1, the set will have the advantage. As I said, Andy can play crafty, but if you are just going to brawl fight 1v1, set wins that.
BaRRaCCuDDa needs some help here. Gets in yet again from JeffHindla, and the Disapparate, of course, did consume his bees, but over the wall, you saw Aquarius jumping on in with the Lawmaker, and SamphaSoccer ends up falling down. Paul can't do much there with just Suns. And at the same time, we did manage to see Belair recall to base, but when he returned to base, well, this opened up another window for Spacestation now at the Pyromancer.
This is a different Spacestation gaming than we have seen. And I'm not giving
you... We saw it yesterday, to be fair.
Well, yes.
This week.
And we saw a glimpse of it, and more so today. And I'm not saying the victory. I'm not saying the winning the lane. I'm not saying the rotation. I'm saying the confidence to go for the objectives. That's something that this team has not had the remainder of the phase 2.
Well, objective from Zapman is kill andinster there, and he at least got the Aegis and the beads down, but with BaRRa here, Zap's under pressure, and Andy trapped in a world of hurt. Zap will get credit for the kill. And Answer finally back. It's his first death for andinster in that duel lane.
This is what I started to talk about before we had that mid lane kind of scrum. In a vacuum, 1v1, Zapman will win that. The set player will win that. But once there's help involved, the burst damage from the Thor.
This is just constant fighting between these two. 13 kills in 14 minutes. That's where we're standing now. And it's mainly going towards all the assassins for the most part in this game. Sure, we've had Aquarius pick up one here or there, but mainly the assassins have been the catalysts of this.
I mean, that makes sense. Blow the players up, right? But the burst damage from the Thor, if you've got a one additional CC, a taunt, a knock, right? If you got something like that, Thor's going to win that because of his ability to dunk down stun combo. That will go ahead and take advantage of Zapman. But if SK Gaming can keep Spacestation away from the carry lane, Zapman should get control. And since we're seeing this back and forth, occasionally Zap's left alone, and when he's not, he's 1-5-1. So you're seeing this kind of back and forth, and Spacestation has correctly identified that Andy needs help over here. They provided it, and now they've got about a 4,000 and 3,500 gold lead.
Andy looking at Zap again, doesn't even care that Neil's there. Jeff over the wall with a blink taunt, and Zap has to run away.
Split DPS!
Took a lot of damage, and Jeff gonna dash in again to get aggro. This tower's very low, and Cyno will just backdoor it to remove it, as Andy dunks in for the kill on Neil, but the passive came through. Paul on the rotation got picked by Aquarius and BaRRaCCuDDa, and now Zap's gonna fall down to BaRRa. In goes Sam, and out goes Sam as Belair turns up to defend, but the rest of his team's dead.
Aquarius doing a great job of zoning out the backside. A little bit of a fearless, a little bit of a kill, and the rest of the team's able to follow up. The tier 2 tower gonna fall down as well.
Fury.
Previously a 4,000 gold lead. Spacestation are going to turn the left lane, and the Oni, if they get it, And this will be a giant jump for Space Station.
And this Fury is very important too. I was going to mention that there's a lot of pressure potentially applied around here, mainly because Sam and Neil would not with their second relics just yet. As you can see, Sam needs to go back to base to get his secondary relic online, and Neil still needs another level. And that with that frenzy, more importantly, that Jeff has around his waist, he can come up big in team fights and objective control. Great play from Space Station. We're looking good for a 1-1 tied game going into game 3 here.
If I'm Space Station, I think the idea is to just continue.
It wouldn't fit in this building if it was Space Station. Right?
Good one, Hindu man.
Thanks, Tiny Desktop.
Hey, that was sick.
Where'd you find those shorts, by the way? Have you been in my gym bag?
Those? Only the Uber Eats driver sees me in those shorts. Those are like those real late night watching Netflix shorts. But
I appreciate the cozy.
if I'm Space Station, I am
Going for Fire Giant?
yes.
All right.
Push this lead. This is what I want more of from SSG in general.
NeilMah's just trying to buy time for his team to get back and defend this, but he's going to end up falling down for the pleasure of doing so. Belair, who was rotating, gets dunked on by Andy, but reality check just sets in at how tanky he is. And knowing that SK were on the rotation, they find a pick for this pressure at FG. The wards in the jungle, though, are given vision of them on this rotation back towards the middle lane. Pressure will be relieved for now, I guess, but they may turn it towards a tier 1 or even, actually, wait, they're going back to it?
I like this less. Cyno's by himself, and Sam's going to catch him. The taunt's strong. Knockup will be immune, and here comes the Suns.
Beads were used as well in that engagement. The ricochet off the wall did tap, but it's not going to be enough damage at this point to bring down Cyno, as Aquarius gets a bit of alone time with Belair for a second or two. Taunt came through, and so did the World Serpent at the right time from Belair there. Otherwise, I think he would have ended up falling down before he could channel through that ultimate. So SK Gaming, well, they technically defend the Fire Giant again.
Exactly. They dissuaded Space Station from looking for it. I wanted to see, and I still want to see, Space Station continue to push this lead, but SK Gaming have done what they need to get Space Station to kind of question themselves. Look, you're up 8,000, give or take. This is the time where you start the Fire Giant and punch anybody that looks at you. This is your birthday party. Cry if you want to. But the problem is SK Gaming have just kind of shown that insecurity that Space Station has, and because of that, SSG won't go for the fire. They'll look for smaller, safer objectives, and that's good because they haven't completely been shut down, but SK Gaming did what they needed.
You saw exactly what Space Station was talking about, though. They just pinged the mini-map on that tier 1 tower in mid and the right-hand side one. Focus was on the middle at the end of the day just to open up the map a little bit more so, create a lot of distance between Zapman and safety on this left-hand side of the map, even more so, even on rotations now. And I think that's one of the reasons SK are kind of holding back for a second. They needed Zap to catch up a little bit. He was 1-6-1. Now, granted, he's also done a good job of getting ahead and experience over that of andinster. That's just because he's sat in lane and farmed, while Space Station have shared that experience throughout their positions.
Atomization from Thor coming out strong as well. The
Raw
Brawler's
damage.
beat stick. Yes, raw damage is what we want to see from a carry for sure. But the Brawler's beat stick is a nice look against Zapman specifically. The reason Set has the advantage in that 1v1, as I said pretty emphatically, is because of the lifesteal. And with the Brawler's beat stick, that changes everything. And now all of a sudden, andinster is able to take that 1v1, something he's probably going to be tasked with as the team continues to look for objectives.
Aquarius is so tanky now that he can hold a few tower shots to himself and allow BaRRaCCuDDa to backdoor that tier 1. Belair steps forward, and that's mainly just to place those clouds on the ground to allow the minions to die before they get anywhere near this tier 2. The Space Station is setting up for something at the pinch here. Good taunt from Jeff after the blink, and the knock-up on Neil is good. Neil will have to throw back away, but the collapse from Aquarius is good. Zap was in the mix in the backside, but he can't find a kill just yet. It's BaRRaCCuDDa coming up with the first one in this engagement.
SK Gaming far too spread out. They finally get put together, but unfortunately they have already lost a support player. Space Station Gaming noticed and identified the fact that SK weren't grouped up as a unit. They saw there were members in the middle lane, and that's what enabled them to push forward. Again, still too trepidatious to push on the Fire Giant. And I think that they absolutely can, but SK Gaming, this is the old kind of insecurity that Space Station had in weeks past that I said I was happy that they got away from. think they're back at it. But like I said, victories on the towers. I'm not complaining here, but they could be getting bigger ones.
A win's a win. The tier 2's a tier 2, but Sam is now round the back, and it's only 3
Nice
members so
taunt.
far of Space Station gaming around. Reinforcements are on the way from Space Station, though. Andy and Cyno back, and Cyno blinks in towards Zapman and annihilates him. Neil uppercuts to the sky in celebration. The knockback didn't help him out. It pushed Andy forward, but Andy wasn't happy to continue the chase. The call from Space Station is going to be the Fire Giant.
SK thought Space Station made the same mistake that SK had made prior. Start the team fight with too few players, but SSG was able to make the rotation. Shout out to Cyno's speed on the Pele. That brings her to the fight. That allows them to go ahead and kind of win. Credit to SK as they eject successfully. They get out of there when they needed to, but Space Station created the room that they needed to go for the Fire Giant. I think Space Station are afraid to take contested objectives, and I think you can win without taking contested objectives.
I agree.
But Space Station will take longer than they might need to.
Hey, when you're in a season and you've not won a game in a very long time, a set in a very long time, right? You play it safe. I am of the same opinion here. If you're Space Station gaming, do the objectives when they're safe. Don't risk 50-50s. Take the freebies. Take the victory.
I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for
End of the day, we all know, we talk about this every year, but I feel a lot of people always forget about it. You don't win at Smite. Your opposition loses by making mistakes. That's how Smite's played. It's whoever makes the biggest mistake that not only makes the mistake, but gets punished for the mistake that wins the game.
That's the key. It's about the punishment. And if SK Gaming can ground Space Station after making the wrong move, Space Station are minimizing that chance by making sure not to make the wrong move.
13,000 gold lead then at 23 minutes in. This is a newer look Space Station at the end of the year, and it's the right time to find that new look because you head into placements. There's a lot of hungry kids in that placement phase that want a shot at getting to Worlds. So being an established player like Space Station Gaming is an established team, a lot of people will be happy to claim their scalp. Now they might be second guessing about maybe wanting to face off against them with how at least this week's going. However, SK did take Game 1 just as dominantly as Space Station Gaming are looking in Game 2. This is gearing up for a very interesting tale, especially considering there's not a whole lot on the line other than pride, but it shows how much pride these players have in their performances.
And pride, I even think you're underselling it there. Now,
Yeah,
for what
but
it's worth, I think SK Gaming, I'm there. But Space Station Gaming, this matters so much. One, it's important that they need as much practice as they can get.
Yep.
You don't get practice on an SPL field in scrims. To peel the curtain back a little bit, teams will regularly surrender at 12 minutes. Oh, we're down 3K. We know how it goes. Surrender, surrender. You're not getting a chance to practice the mid-game. You're not getting a chance to practice the late game the majority of the time. Now, Space Station, it's taken them this long. It took them up until week number 10 in order to identify one of their big issues, and they changed their playstyle. They've only had 3 weeks in this new playstyle to really work on it, so every minute of Smite counts.
Neil was just winding up the groggy strike, and Jeff went, thanks very much, mate. I'll blink and taunt you. Zapman taking a trade with Andy and Aquarius.
Zap, kill him.
And it's Sam and Zap under pressure, but Zap does take out Andy because Aquarius got greedy for the kill. It ends up being a 1-for-1. Andy for Sam for Soccer. 2 assassins are dead.
That was a mistake from andinster as well. Didn't have the time to wind up. But now it's a 4-on-3, and if I'm SSG, this is the fight that I still take with their lack of results. I'm not sure if they're going to have the chutzpah to go for it, but I hope they do.
Aquarius is a big problem to try and deal with, though. This tier is going to cause so many issues, especially if he's not tanking the tower, because that's what Jeff is doing. Paul has to leap away, and BaRRaCCuDDa is just swinging those basics all the way in as Cyno takes down Paul on landing. Not a whole lot Belair can do in the World Serpent to prevent that. And Zap could be killed here by Aquarius if he's not careful. He might want the trade because he knows he's got Neil in tow, but he's not enjoying that damage that just came out from BaRRa either.
All BaRRaCCuDDa. Aquarius shows up and just pushes the player in. You know what? Let me take that back. All Space Station Gaming. This team is coming together and utilizing all 4-5 members. This is a team.
And now we head on towards the Titan. Minions pouring in from mid, couple of them left too. Definitely possible with the characters left for SK Gaming.
Not free.
It's going to be tricky for them to try and defend this. It's about keeping BaRRaCCuDDa away. But when Barra's got an ultimate like that, it makes half the work easier.
Still not done.
Still taking a while, but it's going to go down, Tom. I've done this script before. Game 2 goes to Space Station.
A nice look, and that was not a lot of the times where we see Space Station kind of sneak a win here or there. It's usually off of the late game team fight. Like you said, somebody else made a mistake. This was SSG playing correctly.
It felt almost like they took SK's game plan in game 1 and went, now we'll do that, and just ran it back the other way, where all the pressure was in the dual lane, but it was Zap under pressure instead of andinster.
Exactly. Listen, Andy on the Scylla, I love it. I like it. But when the opponent identifies the fact that it's not going to be good early and they camp it all day, I mean, we know what 1 + 1 equals. So Space Station Gaming went back and they said, we're still going to make you comfortable, Andy, but you've got to get a god that's less late game focused. They give him the Thor, they allow him to convert, they allow him to take the game.
Back to the drawing board for SK, but can Space Station keep marching on? With tied up at 1-1. Who'll win game 3? We'll find out after the break.
Respawn, the official gaming chair of the SMITE Pro League. Well, Space Station evened things up, not to be outdone by SK Gaming there in game number 1. We are all tied going into game number 3. And Space Station get this done with a pretty weird draft, I can be honest. Andinster takes the Thor into the long lane, and then they get the Pele over there for Cyno. Some picks that aren't super popular right now. Soul popped off for BaRRaCCuDDa as well. But they get it done. However you have to do it, they get it done. Zeros is right here next to me, man. What did you see here in this game that stood out for you? BaRRaCCuDDa had a really good performance. I mean, andinster was able to win the 1v1 there up against the set for Zapman. What'd you see?
Just imagine at the start of the year, like if you had to make a guess, what do you think is gonna be the matchup in dual lane against Spacestation and SK in the last set of the year? You'd probably be like, Jeff's probably gonna play Sylvanus with
yeah, right. It'll be a dual lane
Hachiman.
over there. Yeah. No.
Now we have andinster on 4 against Zapman on set, so I don't know, man. But yeah, like BaRRaCCuDDa popped off on this soul for sure.
Yeah, he absolutely did, especially towards the end of the game. He really started to come online, but I feel like it was Jeff and andinster that kind of got them to that point by being active, moving around the map, and that's what this draft can do with the semi-global from the Anvil of Dawn, with the Defender of Olympus from Athena. They got off to a really good start, and SK Gaming did not look great. Neil struggled early on this Kumbhakarna and got bullied, and andinster looked comfortable on the Thor, man. He's been playing it forever.
Yeah, I just think like Zapman started boost 2 on the set, and andinster started Warrior's Blessing, and it looked like andinster was just so much stronger. I'm not sure if that's because Thor and his passive, or if it's just because of the Warrior's Blessing so good early game.
And this is exactly the kind of thing I was talking about. Even with those suns coming out from Paul and the Hou Yi, BaRRaCCuDDa was able to find some nice kills to start off in the early game. And you were talking to me a little bit about Paul and the Hou Yi, and you feel like you very rarely see him on it. Did he look comfortable on it when he played here? Because, I mean, I think that he did. It's just that, I don't know, maybe that's just not his pick or something like that, or was that part of the issue?
Yeah, I don't think you can blame him for that. I don't think he had that much impact this game compared to BaRRaCCuDDa on the Sol, which did a lot, obviously, but I don't know, it's hard to tell. I feel like this game was kind of similar to the first game, where it's so one-sided, where like everyone's doing well, you know, and like you're so far behind from the get-go, so it's kind of hard to have impact.
Especially because there were so many of those ganks on the left-hand side, like we saw there on the Zapman. I mean, JeffHindla and andinster having a really good syncing up over there on the left-hand side and punished Zapman on the set. It never got to a good start. I mean, Zap got a nice kill towards the end of the game when Andy was trying to ult away on that Thor, but then Zapman was able to come over and catch him out before he took off. But for the most part, that set never really got going.
Yeah, for sure. Look at that damage from Sol. They literally use one-shot attack pretty much. That's pretty crazy. Did he? I didn't pay attention to his build, but did he go full mage again? Because I think he played it yesterday, and he didn't go any rings at all. He went like Doom Orb into Soul Ring.
Yeah,
into Shard
looking
or
pretty
something like
full mage there from that time. I mean, as opposed to what we saw Funballer doing the Freya, where he bought literally every ring he could, Telekai, Zaman, and Greep, and I think it was the Hastened ring that he finished that off with. So there's still some schools of thought when you play mage ADC about how you want to go, though I don't know that Freya is one that'll be continuing to show up. That might be a Funballer special, I suppose.
Maybe. I mean, it looked
He made it look good, right?
Yeah, it had so much pressure in lane, and actually, like, did not get a solo kill, I think, but it was close. Like, just so
He
much,
definitely had pressure the whole game. Yeah.
Like, honestly, might be underrated. Maybe people just think Freya's not good anymore just because she received so many nerfs, but sometimes, like, maybe one performance like this on Freya, people are gonna be like, oh,
You're right. Sometimes
maybe she still is pretty good.
you just need a refresher or a reminder, and if anyone will pull it out, I mean, BaRRaCCuDDa is certainly capable of it. Now, I don't think you want to take Freya into the mid lane nowadays. She definitely feels like a long lane mage right now, if you're going to play her at all, but perhaps andinster. I mean, he's playing just about whatever he wants to. The Thor, the Scyllas, all kinds of stuff over there on the left-hand side, so I guess that's not too far out of the realm of the possible. But to switch gears over to SK, clearly some adjustments need to be made for them. The Kumbhakarna never got up to a good start. Zapman got bullied on this set. I don't think he was expecting to have an assassin v assassin matchup. You want that set into, like you said, a Hou Yi or a Jingwei or someone you can punish over there on the left-hand side.
I mentioned it before, but maybe like a Warrior's Blessing start for Zapman would have made him stronger early game. And maybe that could have made a difference, because like, I'm not sure. I think Set should have a decent matchup into 4. I'm pretty sure, at least. I mean, I haven't played it, but I think I've seen the matchup in solo lane. So.
And it's one he should be able to at least look better than that in, right? He really struggled. Well, they won't have to worry about the Athena taunts coming out from JeffHindla this time. They choose to ban away his Geb and his Athena in these top bans. That forces Spacestation to ban away the Isis, to ban away the Persephone, but the Set still out there, the Amaterasu, the Tyr. There's still a ton of stuff, the Thor, that needs to be banned, and SSG will get rid of the Ama.
Yeah, maybe SK will look for an early Kumbha again. Okay, this is
It'll be the Thor right off the top. I think this is the first time SK were first pick as well. I think Spacestation have had it the first 2 games. So we'll see how well that Spacestation can work from the second pick spot, because when you lose, you do get to pick, so it's SK that have chosen to take this first pick spot. But that means the Kumbhakarna gets to come back for Jeff.
That's good. Like he played Athena last game, and it's like also good late game support, but can also set up for your team in the early game. And it just looked a lot better for SSG. I think Jeff should really stick to these gods. Maybe not like the super heavy early, like Hercules and Serqet and that, but like if you can get something that's good late game, like Kumbha, that is also good early game. I think that's a much better look for JeffHindla.
I believe Spacestation's been able to ban this Hercules both games as well, because they've been in that first pick spot. So this should be the first time that we get to see Neil on it. Neil played the Kumbhakarna those other 2 games. This time, though, he's right back into that comfort pick of the Hercules that allows him to play very aggressive, that sort of Aurora style that we see in the early game. Neil does a lot of that same stuff.
That's a lot of early game on SK.
Thor,
Thor, and Ullr. That 3-on-3 mid.
Yes. So you are thinking early on, it's likely for Paul there too. Yep, if that's the 3v3 combo, good luck. Just about anyone they put in that combination.
Yeah, I think maybe get a mage and get like physical defense item, first item or something, I don't know, to survive that. That's a lot of pressure coming out.
SK are banning the Soul when I would have thought it wouldn't have been too bad of a combination to put the Soul on their own team, but maybe they want something a little bit more AoE. Meanwhile, Spacestation are looking purely towards the solo lane, banning away the Achilles and the King Arthur. Even with all this physical, they're worried about potentially another warrior over there for Belair, and then one last mage to kind of synergize with all of this by banning away this warrior pick. And they're taking a big AoE mage in their own right by locking in the Zhong.
Who is that for? I've seen BaRRaCCuDDa play a lot of Zhong, and he seems to like it on stream when he streams. So I'm not sure. Maybe this will be BaRRaCCuDDa going to the long lane on Zhong, or maybe andinster just takes not that hard of a god to play, to be honest. I think andinster can handle it as well, but interested to see where it goes.
Poseidon now coming in along with the Osiris. And Poseidon's been getting a lot more value lately, but I don't know, where were you coming down on this discussion? Because I think you heard Aggro saying earlier that he's not as in love with this Poseidon pick as everyone else is. Do you think that this should still be getting pretty valued, or do you think maybe it's a little bit too much value for it right now?
I think Poseidon is good if you have the burst to kill tanks in, like, say, a hard CC into a Whirlpool Kraken into some more damage and kill them. Or if the cripple counters a lot of gods, which is kinda does here, Erlang and Tyr both really struggles against cripples, so in that regard it's good. And also, if it is Poseidon in duo lane, I think it's a lot better there, because you don't have to invest the full damage. You can go a little bit more bruiser with like a Pythag, maybe even a Jade Emperors. I think bruiser Poseidon, if you're not aiming on doing this like one-shot tanks kind of combo, I think a bruiser Poseidon is a lot better, because he can trade with a lot of junglers and stuff, because he has so much damage with his trident.
Yeah, that's right. They can get plenty of value just out of using that Whirlpool without having to worry too much about necessarily the Poseidon Kraken being the end-all, be-all of every fight. So I think that does kind of create some room a little bit for them to think about that build. And then the Osiris coming in, that's going to be heading over to Belair, no problem, to give him some boxing potential up against this tier. And now Spacestation Gaming have to decide where they want to go. It looks like what they're missing at this point would be another carry. What do they want to pair alongside this Zhong? And if they're waiting this long, I got to imagine it's something for andinster that's a bit off the wall. So maybe this Zhong is indeed going to be going to BaRRaCCuDDa.
I mean, I think Ullr should be a really good pick here, but I guess it won't be. But Ullr, like, they don't really have any good picks against Ullr, so it's going to be the Hachiman. It's probably Hachiman mid and andinster on the Zhong.
It is now looking like that Zhong will be going to andinster instead, as BaRRaCCuDDa has really favored this Hachiman lately. Played it back in game 1 and a lot yesterday too, to pretty good success. This is not a bad draft from Spacestation here at all. The Erlang Shen has really worked out for them too. The Kumbhakarna as well. Are you kind of sold on this Spacestation draft here?
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, it's just like, I feel like they're gonna have trouble killing this Hercules though. Maybe Cyno went like a super heavy build yesterday where he went like execution into kids, like very heavy of killing tanky targets. Maybe it does something like that. But if they don't, because Zhong is not really known for killing tanks that good, and obviously you have a Hachiman mid, you get less farm, gonna take longer before he gets his execution and kills and stuff, so yeah, we'll see. If they have enough damage to kill this Hercules, then I think SSG probably has the better draft. That's
a good point. This Hercules from NeilMah could potentially survive through a lot of an SSG have to offer. Though at the very least, Zhong doesn't have really that much trouble applying things like Divine Ruin. But as you said, he's not big bursty. He's like this long duration chip away damage that's going to keep coming at him. And Hercules loves that kind of fight, because he'll mitigate wounds his way right through that kind of damage. Or maybe they could potentially just get past the Hercules. Either way, NeilMah is going to be critical in this game for SK. How will Spacestation handle him? We'll find out before too long.
Thanks so much, finishing zeros on the desk, and I like what Zeros touched on there, that build yesterday from Cyno on this Erlang Shen. Yes, that's my impersonation, because I'm not stupid enough to try and do them, think I'm good at them, or anything like that. My co-caster, however,
Erlang Shen!
Yes,
whoa, is he here?
No, Tom, he's not. And he's not been the entirety of the
Shen!
year. No. The Ganesha one was a closer one. I'm joking, please don't do it.
Ganesh.
Yeah, great. Really riveting stuff here on the broadcast. Start of this one, though, let's see where everybody begins. It's going to be Cyno on the left-hand side of the map, contesting against NeilMah's Hercules. He's the 2.0 version, I'd say, or the, I guess, 0.5 version, because a Raw's Herc is second to none in my eyes. Neil's is definitely the other variation of this, which is very, very similar to an extent of what he's going to do. He's going to see that dog and he's going to follow it. Jeff, though, looking for a cheeky steal.
Whap! He got it! Oh, just kidding. I really thought he got it.
It looked close. But close is only close in horseshoes, hand grenades, and corn hole. Yeah. Oh, Neil missing the blink driving strike. That's going to be a rough one there. As Cyno and Andy just focused on clearing the wave in the early game. Zhong versus Poseidon is a matchup we've seen in mid many a time through the years, but not in the dual lane as much.
Well, again, you know, this is one of the characters that Andy had when he played over in the mid lane, and, you know, just to call a spade, Zero set of the day. It's not a hard guy to play. You push forward, you toss a card, you walk around, no problem.
I think he got a lot easier with the fact that his stacks are easy to get from just minions dying around him rather than having to use the 1-2 combo, and it gives him a bit more survivability because of that. The stacks they take longer to get, I guess.
Well, I mean, yeah, you took away the necessity for the 1-2 combo as Sam just stares at Jeff. You took away the necessity of the 1-2 combo, which means he has more abilities available more often. You took away the need for the last hit, so you don't have to play this weird CS game, if you will, in lane, trying to nail those, and you took away just a lot of the intricacies, and so what you have left is just this giant ghost-slinging dude.
Jeff gets hit by the axe, still at level 1, uses the throwback, but a good Earthbreaker from Neil pulls him into danger.
Oh!
The power spike afterwards from the rain of arrows from Paul brings him down for first blood.
That is one of my most That is one of my favorite plays to watch. Not only did we get a chance to see Neil back up to land the Earthbreaker, but we saw the chance to get the body block. I love the intricacy, I love the ability to go ahead and read it and find that body block.
Now with Aquarius on his right-hand side as well, just getting pressured out by this Osiris early game, and that's exactly what's going to end up happening here, because Osiris in the early game is going to be potent. Now Tyr will answer back once he gets a couple more levels under his belt. Round 7 to 9 is where Tyr will really start to hold his own more so in this laning phase.
Yeah.
And maybe allow for some rotations in the jungle. Speaking of rotations in the jungle, that's what Neil's doing yet again, trying to zone people away from that red buff where possible. That red buff's down for a while. You saw Cyno now rotating to left, and Zapman is going to get paid a visit yet again. He got some good damage off on Andy, but the backup might just be his demise.
Oh, what a great bait.
Speed buff.
Fantastic play by SK Gaming here.
He's trying to give it to Andy. Is that what's happening here? Why didn't he just basic him? I guess not. Driving strike come through, and he had to sidestep. Zap is out. Now Neil may go down for it, but no, the groggy strike misses. Earthbreaker off the mark. Cyno trapped and gets hit by an axe. The only one to find the ability. And it comes up in SK's favor yet again.
Disgusting. That was...
Why didn't he auto?
I have no idea.
So basic, I should say.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Automatic.
That was disgusting.
Was he trying to hold the kill? I felt like he was holding the kill for Andy or something.
That had to have been
Maybe.
what he was looking for.
Or he didn't think the auto attack would be enough damage. So
No, it was clearly enough damage. It
I
had
thought
to
it
have been kind of a hold there, which I absolutely despise. But that was a great bait coming out from Andy. Because a lot of times, if you're sitting there low HP, deciding to fight, clearly there's somebody coming. But the Zhong is a character that has some self-healing. Zapman's somebody that will absolutely take that bait. So that was a great job by Spacestation Gaming's jungler to kind of come over here working in tandem with andinster to make sure that... But yeah, the dropped kill, the Zapman getting out, that is not how that's supposed to go.
That's a 2,000 gold lead at this stage. That's not what you expect to see at the moment. Sure, experience and gold leads are important in the early game, but you don't normally see such a 2k in under 5 minutes of play. So it's going to be a big ask now for Space Station to get back into it. Maybe they just hang around a little bit and farm up. I would like to see Cyno continue that pressure, because Zap is playing up in this lane, and I think he'll continue to do so. So maybe Cyno could just go back to it again next time?
It's possible. It's all about how aggressive Zapman is going to be. Obviously, from that last exchange, I think Zapman is going to and should play aggressively. He's got the ward vision on the top side and the bottom side of his own lane, and then the exit space for Space Station from the middle lane. This is a lot of important information to allow Zapman to play as aggressively as he wants to.
Now, I know we're talking about the drop kill. I will say Zapman's turnaround tidal wave there bought him enough time to get self-peel away, more importantly. So that was a good little play from him, too. He won't be spoken about as much because Cyno probably could have just killed him.
Yep.
And now with this, the pressure is all for SK Gaming. Red buff currently down, nothing really up in Space Station's jungle. But with these lanes pressured, guess where everyone's starting to collapse to, funnily enough? It was the Gold Fury. Luckily enough, though, Oracles will delay them thinking about going for that gold.
The Oracles right now are more important than the gold.
Easier
Fury,
than the gold.
believe it or not. Not only are they easier, it takes less time, and it also, the red buff will spawn. SK Gaming are getting whatever they want. They just went to Costco. They took the neutrals, they took the enemies, and the Gold Fury, like I said, will be worth more gold in a couple of minutes. And so by going for it at 5 minutes, you're much better off going for the neutral camps and the Oracles specifically than the actual Gold Fury.
3 members of SK on this left-hand side trying to apply some pressure. Jeff's groggy strike was there in case of an Earthbreaker attempt more than anything, or if Neil got too aggressive. But it looks like Sam's going to leave that lane now, head back towards the middle area. There's a lot of wall coverage on this left-hand side for SK, so they could be quite happy with hanging around here. You can see the pings just going down because there's a ward where BaRRaCCuDDa is right now.
Exactly. SK Gaming made the adaptation from game number 1. They said, all right, everybody going to be showing up in Zapman's lane. We're going to make sure that we've got the ward vision this time around. Now SK Gaming still playing aggressively, but they have the information.
Blink from Neil, looking at andinster, holds the driving strike, hits Jeff with it, then puts him straight into a Kraken. Jeff's on the ground, dying away as Andy tries to get aggressive back. The Ghost caused a lot of damage for Zap, and that spin on the spot is not going to be enough. One more will do it. Andy will make sure he gets this time round, but Neil will get his life in return. 2 for 1 in favor of SK so far.
2 for 1 and the purple buff invade. We like to see that if you're rooting for SK Gaming. NeilMah coming through. And right there, Space Station dropped the Zapman kill because Cyno refuses to finish it off. That's NeilMah going, I don't care if I'm a supporter or not. I'm going to make sure you're dead.
Make sure there's a death in the game, that's for sure. So still the pressure, still being focused towards the dual lane, but it's filtering through the mid lane now is what I'm starting to see more. It's opening more opportunities for these red buffs and purple invades. And all the while, that just means that Aquarius and Belair in this game could be very far ahead in experience if it stays this scrappy on this side of the map.
We're going to see a lot of the fights. Neil having a 2-level lead above JeffHindla is something that you want to see if you're playing the warrior support, and so he's going to make use of that.
Oh, Cyno took a lot of damage, but he had already used the ultimate, so got a nice heal just as Sam dunked in. And with Sam being low on mana after that wall, his last mana he had to use to jump to the hammer, and also use the beads to make sure it was safe to do so.
Now, we only saw the second part of that engagement, but that was an SK Gaming counter-engage.
Yeah.
Down comes Sam, and he's able to stop what Space Station were doing. It was an all-in on Paul. That's why we saw the heal come out from Cyno, because the Ullr had already been taunted into the damage from BaRRaCCuDDa. So a great response from Sam, who had previously been looking at the long lane to make the rotation in the mid, dunk down, and make the play.
And as we talk about the pressure in the long lane, look at the experience difference in the middle area. At the moment, Paul's got nearly 2 levels, because we just saw BaRRaCCuDDa hit level 8 now. He's almost got 2-level lead here in that middle area, because Paul is having a lot of free time to just push this wave and rotate and get some of these camps, because the junglers aren't really there to pick it up, and neither are the supports.
Junglers have been everywhere, but made it feels like no 3v3 here.
Lane comes
That man's in
Zapman.
trouble.
Gets hit by an uppercut. There's the follow-up damage, though. They need some support. Andy and BaRRaCCuDDa zoned away, and Kraken hits onto Jeff. The Whirlpool really slowed him down, and the double tap. Just the backstep to the right-hand side really sets Sam up for that to find another kill. And NeilMah with another blinking gauge that just barely misses.
The fade away there from Sam for Soccer. Looking good while doing good. You'll
Thor,
have to see
man.
that one.
Thor's back.
Thor's been
I mean, we knew he's been back, but this is a set where all 3 games, the team that has got Thor has looked the better team.
I mean, it's absolutely. Not only is Thor a strong choice, but Thor is also, like I highlighted, Andy's been playing it since 2012. So have a lot of these other guys. Thor's been in the game forever, has had some changes, but the way you play him. Watch this. Sam for Soccer is going to go up. He lands down. There's the hit. The follow-up with it, the 3. No wall. So my whole conversation about the combo being the same isn't there, but he'll get the kill anyway.
The beads was the biggest changer there. You know, I'll give you the credit where it's due. Love the lazy back from Zapman. That was a bait tactic. Mid lane, Paul getting ulted by Cyno. Follow-up from BaRRaCCuDDa's good with the eye jutsu.
Oh!
But the peel away from Neil is better. Earthbaker driving strike. Get away from my carry.
Oh my goodness. This is... Neil is having a great show. That's that Neil peel, front and center. Being able to just back up to get the perfect distance for the Earthbreaker. Paul gets away. Oh, chef's kiss.
That's my favorite rhyme you've ever done.
The Neil peel?
Yeah. It's the only... the first time I've heard it. It's the best one I've ever heard. Because I've hated every other one.
Yeah?
And that one I can deal with.
What about winning and grinning? What about swishing and dishing?
I didn't mean to get onto this subject.
What about zoning and poning?
Poning?
Shout outs to 2007.
Cyno gonna get double tapped off the wall. I don't even think a boulder was needed, but it was there for confirmation. The blue buff does end up falling down and going over to Neil as SK start to run rampant through Space Station's jungle. This... With how the last day has gone with these games, this is just very one-sided every time.
Oh my goodness, talk about that.
So I'm smiling too.
Too much power for the tower.
Get out! Kraken hits from Zapman, but Andy's return of damage is good, and Zap went to box for a minute. Gotta be a little bit careful. Andy's recognizing the danger. He needs more help now as that ult from Sam will cut off his exit. I love the idea for him to turn around, though, and go for the play on Zap, realizing he's probably dead anyway. The card just wasn't enough to bring down Zap at the tail end. 9-1 then for SK Gaming. Laser back!
Oh!
Got him!
Sam's laughing at Zap! Sam's laughing at Zap!
I mean...
I'm laughing at Zap.
You've got to have one feeder on the team when you're winning, right?
Tactical feed?
But was it?
No.
Yeah, that's not it. Like, we make excuses a lot for players' tactical feed, and that one... Yeah, it's a little bit suspect. Cyno versus Neil in the jungle. Level 10 versus level 10. Jungle versus support, and Paul's axe hits onto Cyno. Groggy strike uppercut takes away Paul from the equation for a second, but just see how little damage that did to him at all. Jeff only at level 8 now. He just dings off that wave going past him. As still, SK Gaming are just pressuring every single camp. Back harpies on both sides, and it's forcing Aquarius to try and stem the bleeding somewhere and punish Paul, but he can't find the Fearless. He did find a bit of damage after the fact, but that's all she wrote, as BaRRaCCuDDa is being chased down by Neil again.
That's a kill. NeilMah misses, and misses with the ultimate as well. He might die for this.
Oh, he will now at Andy turns. I was like, he's out, but no. The card will cause a problem, and Aquarius, who was trying to hold up mid lane and help out, ends up falling for it. Cyno might be able to kill Sam because of that, though. That will help out Sam in experience. Belair, though, punishes andinster. You don't want to be a Zhong against an Osiris, I'll tell you that. You don't want to be a Cyno, sure, hung around with that many members of SK around. Jeff's going to fall here too.
Nice shot. Last hit will go to
Let's
Belair.
move on to game 4.
Zapman tried to steal it, but he didn't.
And this is going to be a gold fury now for SK Game, and the gold lead stretching even further. This will put them up to about 7,000 gold, I'd say, after this one. Especially if they're going to look for a tier 1 tower. Look at Belair, they're just chilling, waiting to make sure the BaRRaCCuDDa doesn't rotate in. And when he sees that BaRRaCCuDDa looked his way, he decided to get aggressive and just whittle down the health bar once more.
Small little play there that I really enjoy. I think a lot of teams send Belair to tank the Gold Fury, and then you can just take it down that way. But Belair staying in the middle lane and knowing that his opponent has teleport up, expecting Aquarius to show up, and the player in the middle lane himself, BaRRaCCuDDa, like you mentioned, zoning that out, that forces Paul and Zap to kind of trade the aggro, and so I like that play.
Okay, Neil bit off more than he could chew here, but the driving strike boulder, the follow-up from the Goon Squad is there! Soccer and Belair ulted in to really cause problems. Lawbringer from Aquarius into a Fearless, though, puts Sam under a lot of pressure, and the uppercut from Jeff is good. I don't think it'll kill, however, and the Aegis will make sure there's no follow-up there. So Sam will survive. Jeff, meanwhile, will get away, as NeilMah is still dancing around here, making sure the blue buff is stolen by SK.
Paul solo and BaRRa off screen. BaRRa doesn't die, but is sent back to base. The old Tolly TKO. Not a kill technically, but the same result. BaRRa has to back, which means Paul's able to push the wave into the tower and then rotate over here for the Pyromancer. SK Gaming being the Pyro Dancers.
Get me out. I'm so glad this is the last game of the season. This is why we don't cast again anymore, because I just can't take it. Zach rotates to the right hand side looking at Aquarius. Whirlpools against tears are always going to be a great thing. The Kraken was more celebratory than connective.
Slap him Kraken. It's like a near rhyme, right?
I mean, it's posh. Cyno blinking in, trying to defend a tier 1 tower. This is where the state of the game's got to. The Cyno's trying to make plays like this when it's not really worthwhile, and it nearly cost him his life. If he can find a kill there against these 2 higher level characters, then sure, he'll get a bit of an experience boost off that by finding that kill. But at the end of the day, it just ends up forcing him back to base. Same time though, what else is there to do? There's no farm up in his jungle, because SK are just running rampant there. BaRRaCCuDDa loses near enough all his health yet again to Socket.
Yeah, Spacestation Gaming needs to slow this game down.
How?
And that's the problem, is that SK, and honestly, it's all about this lead that NeilMah has. He's been 2 to 3 levels up above the opposing support, and at the same time, above some of the carries on Space Station. And so the Hercules has been able to lean on the base damage and just become a secondary jungler. Like the Aurora player you mentioned earlier, he's just this aggressive because he can be.
Great bees from Cyno. I know it's not going to be a big deal at the end of the day, but it was a great bees in the boulder. After the dunk from Sam, sets up the kill on andinster, and he just slips the noose of BaRRaCCuDDa in time. Jeff will at least take down Zapman as a punishment, but now BaRRaCCuDDa's in trouble. Jeff, of course, will be on his way to help, but he won't be there in time.
Zapman that time around is support Poseidon, 0-3 and 10, while his lane partner is 2-1 and 7. NeilMah is able to get some of these kills because, sure, Zapman dies in lane, but that's by Zapman dying. That's forcing Jeff to go get that kill, which takes him out of the team fight in the jungle, which allows NeilMah and Paul to double down and find these secondary shots. The lead that NeilMah has amassed because of his ability to find ganks throughout the game has allowed him to be more of an aggressor, has allowed him to be more of a carry, has allowed him to be more of a thorn in the side of Space Station Gaming. And like I said, he is a secondary jungler. NeilMah is keeping the pace of the game up and not letting SSG catch their breath, and honestly, that might be the reason this game has spiraled out of control.
Belair's buying a lot of time to hope SamPaSoCcer gets here too. He's happy to fight them with this level lead that he's got over the 3 members around him, but it won't be enough to bring him down or find another kill onto Space Station. Instead, he'll walk away happy with the result of the blue buff and now dinging level 17, the highest in the game. Meanwhile, Aquarius, with these rotations that he made in that middle stage, he's ended up falling further behind because of this and forced the Lawbringer away, worried about the potential pressure from Sam in the jungle there.
Exactly. Pressure, man. Everywhere is pressured. SK Gaming... I'm looking at Neil. Success for the Hercules means success for the rest of the team.
What did SG do wrong then? Was this just Neil playing great on this Hercules from minute 1 to an extent and then allowing the facilitation to come through?
Honestly, yes. Neil's been playing very well, but perhaps more importantly than him pushing his buttons, because frankly, we've watched him miss a couple of driving strikes, it's the decision-making and the location as to where Neil goes.
SK Gaming setting up around this left-hand side, mainly for a pick attempt if they can find it, but the Fury, more importantly, is spawning in a few seconds' time. And they may want to just burst this down straight away. This will drive Space Station into their clutches a little bit more. And Space Station may just want to relinquish this, or do they? Because it is an Oni Fury too.
Exactly. Space Station down 11,000 is a tall task. If I'm Space Station, I kind of want to play into...
Not like that way. Kraken hits Jeff, but Jeff's tanky enough to hold on. He at least pops the frenzy before he dies and hopes for the best there and walks away for the time being. Sam did dunk towards BaRRa, but BaRRa escapes. Aquarius, meanwhile, has to do the same sort of thing. Andy goes in with a ghost towards Zap, and Cyno jumps over the wall, but Cyno is still not going to find the kill on Zap just yet. The taunt hit, but Zap got enough support from the remaining members of SK, and now it's Andy that's left alone. How long will he survive? Not long enough is the answer.
Zapman right now is absolutely just baiting. He hasn't been able to really make that much difference as far as the player damage is concerned. He's 5,000 below his teammates. He hasn't exactly been able to push the lanes. He hasn't exactly been a big part of the objectives unless his team has been. And that doesn't mean he's done anything wrong. He has gotten out of these situations. He's died 3 times, sure, but Space Station have a total of 5 kills. What that tells me is that over half of the kills, Shorts 2.5, over half of the kills that Space Station Gaming have been on Zapman. And a lot of the kills that Space Station Gaming don't have still been on Zapman. And a lot of those 20 kills that SK Gaming have are because they have chased the chasers. Space Station are chasing Zapmans all around this jungle, and SK are just like, all right, Zap, run real fast, and we'll kill the guys that are chasing you. And so, while it's a little, the slash on is deceiving, Zapman isn't doing much, quote unquote, but he's luring the opponent into a susceptible position, and his teammates are capitalizing.
Aquarius getting aggressive against Neil for a second. 13,000 goal lead for SK Gaming here.
And again, like I said, NeilMah being the carry, that's usually Neil's job. Draw in the opponent, and everybody beats him up. Zap's just traded places.
Sam tries to slow down Cyno, advancing down this right-hand side for farm, and Cyno at level 14 did use his ultimate, and he's going to get cut off by Zapman now. Surrounded is Cyno, just trying to split push, and this is what junglers do when the game gets to a deficit like this. Everyone tries to split up the map, but it does create these opportunities for the SK to just pick them apart once more. Andy is at least getting some farm on the left-hand side, and that's what the worst thing is. I'm just saying at least. Eventually, there's not going to be much at least left because there's no base to defend.
Exactly. 15k, Fire Giant. If Space Station come here, they get greeted with a punch in the mouth. Here's Jeff, and there he is. He's getting kicked into the Fire Giant pit.
A little bit early, I feel like, to try and contest this one, but the uppercut could set something up. Fire Giant is still leashed, and Aegis was forced by Zapman there. Jeff did pretty good work, but the Whirlpool's going to shut off his exit route. Tier 1 tower does fall on the left-hand side while this goes on. Cyno back up in a few seconds' time. And SK Gaming just a little bit too low to really go for the FG again. Belair with a blink is really trying to punish Aquarius here. Aquarius going to buy as much time as possible. The tether comes into play and stuns him in place. But Cyno's respawn I was just talking about will keep him alive as Cyno forced to beads the Kraken, which could have followed up with a kill. As Zap now realizes, hang on a second, I could be in trouble here.
Ooh, that's a dead Poseidon easily for andinster.
This reminds me of round quarterfinals in the open circuit before there was a pro league.
Okay.
As in, you know the game's
The path
dead.
to 100K?
You know the... No, not... no. Yeah, maybe it was.
Leading up to launch tournament you're talking about?
No, after that. Before we... Like, Season 1 was kind of in its early days, but we're still doing the weekend ones.
The walk-ups to the
to
SPL
qualifiers.
kickoff lands.
Yeah, those sort of ones, right?
I remember those.
These are the ones where the fans at home know this game's dead.
Right.
The players know they're dead, but they're going to play it out anyway. And we have to cast it. And it's the last game of the season.
This particular
mean
game
anything.
of Smite is over. You never want to say dead game on microphone, Hindu man, okay?
Everyone knows what I mean.
Dead game! You've been watching too much StarCraft, haven't you?
I mean, that's just what everyone says about any game these days, isn't it? Games don't exist anymore unless it's the most popular game in the world. And even then it might be a dead game because there's a new one round the corner. Well, round the corner was NeilMah there, and Aquarius has to Lawbringer away. We'll survive that. Gank attempt for the time being. SK Gaming are pretty much a full build at this point, and they've not really gone for the fire again recently as Cyno gets aggressive towards Zap. But Cyno is deep in enemy territory. BaRRaCCuDDa's also dancing around. It could be a state of trying to get Zapman's scoreline as low as possible while still trying to farm up. The longer this goes, though, eventually Spacestation will hit level 20. And that is going to be a detriment for SK's performance here by allowing him to get there, in my eyes, because they are hunting kills at this point.
I will say, though, this is... The hunting for kills thing is something that I am happy about SK Gaming.
Yeah?
BaRRaCCuDDa gets dunked on. And no, I'm actually very serious about this. Because my biggest problem, bigger than Scary D, I have complained about Belair for years now.
Your desk is too small?
Is the fact that Paul has not been Paul for months. Not only is that what makes this team fun to watch, but it's how they get their wins. And Paul, Stella got his groove back here. He is absolutely doing it. 7-0-5 right now, and he is finding these long-range axes. Even at the beginning of this game, he was styling on BaRRaCCuDDa in that middle lane, and these are the types of games that literally awaken the beast.
I can see where you're coming from with that, with the Awakening the Beast. Lawbringer from Aquarius looking for kills on Sam, not the actual fire giant is still under threat. Multiple members of SK were taking up. His side blinks at the back, looks at Sam for soccer. Aegis was used for Sam, worried about the pin combination, but didn't really need it. And now Paul combining with Sam yet again. Remnants of last year come into play. The old trifecta boys coming up big for the kill as Zapman gets credited with the one on Aquarius. Jeff did manage to sneakily get round the back, or did he? Because Sam seems to be hunting him. They've got an idea.
Yeah.
I'm not here.
Oh, the blink forward.
Early blink. Gonna get CC chain, can't find the yawn. Uppercuts, driving struck by Neil. That gets a 3-man knock-up. Jeff does end up falling. Now BaRRaCCuDDa nearby. Sam is low through those pools as he was channeling that ultimate. Now what if you go aggressive after Barra's ult fails? He does! He's going for the all-in! And BaRRaCCuDDa doesn't have a smile. There's no smile there. Normally Barra smiles in that moment, and I wanted to see the little cheeky grin. Wasn't to be the case. D aside for SK Gaming, Fire Giant on all 5 members. Time to take a Phoenix.
See, that's the fire that I'm talking about. Sam, 1 HP, landed on Barra. I don't know if that happens last week, but with this game, like I said, you've been sitting in the dark depths for so long. What up, Merit Lodge? SK Gaming coming through big right now. I mean, this is what you want to see. You want to remember that trifecta run from last year, and this is how SK get it back. You can do all the practice, you can do all the spreadsheets, you can do all the VOD review. But sometimes you just need to farm somebody on an SPL Friday, and SK Gaming run SK. This is them waking up. Trifecta woke up at Worlds last year and made it to the semifinals. I'm not saying that's the case for SK Gaming right now, but this is how you awaken the beast.
The only concern is next game Space Station is going to do the same thing, because we've seen that 3 games so far. Game 1, SK, run the game. Game 2, Space Station ran the game. Game 3, SK. So Game 4 naturally means it's Space Station's turn again.
If Space Station have a game like this, that'd be important for them as well. This is the last game of the regular season. Ain't nobody trying to be a higher seed right now. They are just thinking about the postseason. And if this is the type of game that rallies SK and Space Station can get a game that rallies them, dude, I'm down. If SSG can show up and get 45 kills in a regular season game, I'm here.
Looking at Zap very low. Andy here to turn this around. Exism connects before the Aegis went through. And he ran back towards Cyno, but the Kraken self-peeled. And Zap's still alive. In the sky is Sam, and Cyno will fall. Now Andy left on his own on this left-hand side without any backup in sight. Will get as much damage as he can out before falling down.
Because make no bones about it, I like to have some fun on Esports Weekly, but I'm not rooting for SK Gaming specifically. I'm rooting for the return of good teams. And if this is what it takes to make SK Gaming the trifecta squad that we saw last year, I want Space Station to do the same damn thing to bring us the BaRRaCCuDDa Jeff that we've seen from years past.
Keep buying time, Barra. Keep buying time. He smiles there. There we go. We got one out of him. He's realizing it now. Neil on the Phoenix, whacking away, tanking it up, allowing Paul to try and whittle down the health bar of Aquarius, who was trying to frontline to the best of his ability. But already Lawbringers tries for the Fearless, didn't find it. Instead, the backstep from Neil was good for the driving strike. Is now Jeff. Forced to yawn, back to the fountain we go. 2 Phoenixes down, 4 members in the Titan room. Zapman split pushing. What else is new?
The brute force of the Titan will quickly be turned away from as they realize that man is literally on a tier 2 tower.
They were all 3 Phoenixes down here, giving themselves even more of a boost. The gold lead is 22,000 in 27 minutes. I think today this week we're seeing the best and worst of Space Station so far and how their year has been. Aquarius goes in with the Fearless on Belair after the driving strike came through from Neil. But the Boulder and Kraken did so much work. Still Cyno battling on the front line to the best of his ability. He's not got a tanky build, it's all attack speed. So that's why he's so squishy. But if he does find a 1v1, he can take a life. Problem is, he's not got one himself anymore. Onto the Titan room we go then as SK look to close this out in less than 30.
They're going aggressive, and Space Station Gaming are going to try and defend. The Frenzy is popped by JeffHindla. NeilMah still there, but outside. Belair zoning, still not an easy one. This is going to take all of the marbles, and SK Gaming are still being shoved out of the Titan room. Great defense by SSG.
It's because SK are playing with the food, looking for more kills that Space Station are holding on. But as soon as people start paying attention to the Titan, it will fall down. SK up 2-1 in this final best of 5. Crazy game.
Great job there.
Fun game to watch, I guess, because you get to see some great plays. Unconventional plays, too.
I mean, like I said, I just want to see these teams wake up. Both SK and Space Station Gaming are teams that just simply have not stood up to the types of teams that we expect them to be, and their fans want them to be. And if this is the type of game that it requires, which I think, to wake up SK, I'm here for it. And like you said, if we get one out of SSG next game, I'm down.
I just don't know, when I'm looking at the placement stage, if any of the teams in placements watching these sets are going to be happy or sad based off what they're seeing out of SK and SSG here.
I return to Raffer's quote every time. If you can't beat everybody, you've got no business thinking about Worlds anyway. So whatever your seed is, oh well. So if I'm watching in placement stage, I'm not going, man, I hope we get the easier team, because no matter what, if you're rooting for the finals, you're going to have to play them all.
It's a long way to get through placements to the World Championships too, and that week is going to be very, very long indeed. So why not go 5 games here then, huh? Why not just go the distance here and get yourself warmed up ready for it? We'll find out. Game 3 in the books. The desk is standing by to break that one down.
Thanks, Hindu and Tom, for that exciting end to the game. SK now up 2-1. But I do want to remind you all at home that you all can have a little bit of fun. The Reaping returns. Get discounts on chess as well as cosmetics all week long. Sounds pretty darn good to me. Plus, look out for in-game events like Gym Storms as well as 2 times Battle Points. Be on the lookout for that. Everybody, make sure that you are enjoying it. My name is Finch. I'm still joined here on the desk by Zeros. And SK and Spacey have been going back and forth here so far. What have you noticed that sticks out to you about this set?
That these games are only gonna be stomps apparently, and whoever's first pick is gonna be the one stomping. Cause
Right.
like, Jesus, this mid trio from SK this game, the Thor, the Hercules, and the Ullr, just on a tear. Like
A combined 24-2, by the way. that's pretty darn good.
pretty decent. And it turns out NeilMah can play Herc as well. It's not only Aurora, so.
Yeah, and man, he was doing so much damage this game. He had that really speedy build of the Shield of Regrowth. I think it was Relic Dagger or Wingblade alongside the Talaria boots, and he was all over the map this time. But I mean, you're right. All these games have been relatively one-sided so far.
Yeah, it definitely has. I don't know, something with the first pick. I guess on first pick you can do more respect bans. I'm not sure if you want to call it respect bans, but target bans against the enemy team, right?
Sure.
So like, I guess maybe that's what's making the difference here. I'm not sure.
All right.
Like, SSG is the team that's gonna get the first pick next game, I suppose. So I expect another storm from them.
That's right. We're very. If it keeps going on the trend we're on, we're in for yet another game number 5. 20 games of Smite in a row here across 4 sets. Very likely possible at this point. And a lot of these clips, I imagine, are going to be of BaRRaCCuDDa dunking in because he had something like 12 kills by the end of the game. He was all over this one with this Thor pick. I don't know, man. I feel like Thor is not getting banned or anything like that. I know there's a lot of good stuff out there, but this pick decides games a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's just weird as well. Like, it's exact same story as first game, where we see SSG, they're back on the Hachiman and the Erlang, which did so well for them yesterday, and now both times they played it today, they've been getting absolutely crushed. So I'm not sure if it's maybe just this pressure from this Ullr coming out from Paul, like doing so much work, making it so hard for SSG to just play their own game.
And he's won both games where he's had this Ullr pick, and in both of those games he's had Sam flanking him on this Thor. So clearly the Thor-Ullr combination between Sam and Paul, the heart it feels like of this SK team, when those two are firing on all cylinders, Spacestation just cannot keep up. And I don't know, man, aside from andinster on the Thor in the long lane, he's been a virtual non-factor in this set so far. It does look like Spacestation are at least in good spirits. I mean, I know it's tough after a loss like that, but the team still seems to be together, and they still seem to believe that they can turn this one around.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, they're going to get first pick next game, so it's going to be a quick 20 minutes.
It's game 5 they got to worry about.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. They're probably planning for game 5 already. That's why they're not at their PCs right now.
See, they're up, and they're like, well, we know game 4 is in the back. We'll be the first picks then on that one. But that's not the only thing that seems to have been not really working for Spacestation this game. I mean, Aquarius has had tier 2 games in a row now. I don't know if that's been particularly impactful. Even in game 2, that was mostly BaRRaCCuDDa and JeffHindla popping off there for them. I feel like Aqua's got to get a little bit more active here for them as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup though, Osiris versus Tyr. We haven't seen we've seen a lot of Tyr since his buffs even before, but we haven't seen that much Osiris into it. But I do think Osiris has a really good matchup into Tyr, and that might be something people are gonna pick up more on, because I feel like we've seen a lot of Tyr in the solo lane, but mostly people have been playing like Amaterasu or like other gods, I guess, but we haven't seen that much Osiris.
That's right, and you can't just keep picking the same stuff when new gods start to come into the meta. That's what those 3 weeks do for a lot of the teams, I feel like, because they get to kind of workshop, they get to scrim and see what stuff really stops a lot of the top picks at the front of the meta there right now. And since we're towards the end, whatever it is that teams are working on and figuring out, we probably won't even see. You want to keep some picks kind of close to the chest here right now, or to the vest. I forgot the expression, but you don't want to reveal that stuff a little bit too early.
Vest.
What is it? Is it close to the vest?
I don't know, but to the vest.
It can't be to the vest, can it? That doesn't sound right. Either way, you don't want to reveal that stuff a little bit too soon, so they're kind of they're keeping it close, right?
Yeah.
Keeping some cards up their sleeves. So
yeah,
to
for
speak.
sure. Like as for SK as well, like win or lose, it's just for momentum, right?
Right. Yes.
Like it doesn't matter in the seeding. They can't go up, they can't go down. So just playing a normal game. Everyone knows Paul can play Ullr and like that kind of stuff, so they're not really showing anything. They're just playing what they're good at. And I mean, obviously getting a win now, that's good. Like you get some momentum going into the placement week. Beating SSG is actually a pretty big achievement right now, considering how good they looked against Renegades yesterday. So it's like, yeah, they just want to win.
It's more valuable, I would say, than it would have been earlier on in the phase, just because, as you said, Spacestation have looked like a better team, and so beating them clearly is not something that comes easily. But that's a tough loss for Spacestation. I mean, Sam, Paul, and Neil were popping off. It really looked like just about everything they did was working. How important is it to be able to stay positive as the team, to still be communicating, and everyone still be in some good spirits as you start to get ready for that next game? Because I can't imagine that's always easy, especially after a stomp, basically.
Yeah, sure, but I think it depends a lot. Like here, I think it's kind of easy for SSG to
Well,
see what they need to do to have a better game, and that's just get rid of the Ullr for Paul and get rid of the Hercules for NeilMah. That's like the 2 main things, I think. Sure. Sam for Soccer did great on the 4, but I don't think it's going to have the same kind of impact if it doesn't get the pressure from the Ullr and the Herc pick behind him as well. So I think those two's gonna go for sure.
And those picks need to be removed here on the side of Space Station. It's easier to do so in the first pick spot. The question is, when you're second and you have to ban some of those top meta picks, the Persephone and the Isis and the Set and those sorts of things, it does become harder then in the Amaterasu to make sure that you're able to counter pick that stuff. That's what these teams have to work on. Because not just these two, Renegades have had that same thing. It felt like they have struggled mightily, and Knights have only been able to get wins when they're in that first pick spot as well. You got to be able to make sure you're able to overcome those deficits, though Space Station correcting it right away, Neil not getting the Herc.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see a Ullr ban too. Interesting though, like with all these target bans, like there's room for like these top picks to get left open, but then again we see most second picks always get rid of the Persephone, they get rid of the Isis, which only leaves them pretty much one ban to work with that they can like ban for the opposite team. So yeah.
And even then in those slots, they've been putting Amaterasu a lot of the time, right? And that's just pretty much a general ban for everyone. You're right. Second pick just does not have that much room to work with. And good calls. The Hercules and the Ullr have both been instantly removed from SK. Paul and Sam, or Paul and Neil rather, had to find some kind of other ways to establish momentum. I mean, Neil has been taking the Kumbhakarna away from JeffHindla, but he hasn't looked particularly great on either of those games. If I'm Space Station, I'm not that worried about him playing it.
I don't know. It's like also taking it away from Jeff, right?
Yeah, that's the real reason, I think.
He really likes the Kumbha too, so I don't think it's too bad of a pick for SK, but it's gonna be interesting to see what they first pick here.
Yeah, I think they got Geb last time when they were the first pick in this spot.
I don't think they should do that. Yeah, Amaterasu, that's good.
Especially because, yeah, you're right, SK had to ban away the Athena this time, which has been looking really good for JeffHindla when he played it. He had that in Game 2 today, so they banned that one out, and it means Amaterasu comes through, and that could be for Aquarius. Sometimes it flexes to support, but I don't think of JeffHindla playing Amaterasu.
No, I don't think it fits his playstyle. Maybe it does, I'm not sure. But like, as I said, I want to see him at something late game that also can put in a lot of work early game. Amaterasu can do that, but I feel like Jeff is more of a setup guy.
Yes.
You want something with CC. Amaterasu, not so much CC. She's more of like just dashing in and doing a lot of damage.
Yeah. Fenrir coming in for SK, and that is a NeilMah special. He's just about the only person that plays this. Maybe occasionally you'll see Polar Bear Mike pull it out. Yeah,
but not okay. He actually plays it a lot. The Fenrir with upgraded Sundra level 1.
He likes that one.
That's a PBM special.
PBM likes that one too. PBM does get upgraded Sundra a lot. You're right, and he doesn't even use it that much off the setup. He just likes to shoot it out as a skill shot. We'll see how Neil elects to go for it, because despite the bans on the Hercules and the Ullr, the Thor is right back in the hands of Sam. Though you said it might not be as impactful without the Ullr and the Hercules there alongside the Thor.
Yeah, but now he has to pressure for Fenrir, which is kind of similar to Herc. I think probably worse than Herc. I think it depends what it's against, maybe. But yeah, like still, if they can get another pressure pick in mid there, they still have an insanely strong 3-on-3.
The Kumbhakarna coming in for JeffHindla, thought of as one of his next go-tos right around now in this resurgence that Space Station are starting to have here towards the end of the phase. SK electing to pass on that by taking this Fenrir. Normally Neil's been taking it away, and the Pele being hovered here as well, which Cyno played.
I mean, he did really well the game he played Pele, so I like that too. Just kind of lacking a little bit CC here, I guess, with Amaterasu and Pele both not having like great CC. Amaterasu has her out, obviously, but apart from that, it's not like a ton of CC. Oh, it's the Nasha. I've been waiting for that one. That's been a while.
That makes sense. I mean, back at Worlds, the line was you can't give Cyno Nasha, but he's kind of moved away from it since then. Do you still like him on this pick? You think he can still be that game changer on it, or has Nasha changed too much since then?
I mean, absolutely. I think he had Nasha banned against him at the World Championship like pretty much every game after he won with it. So, like, I'm pretty sure he can still play Nasha.
Well, Cyno still got a pretty strong Nasha in his pocket. Now the question is, what kind of picks do they want to put beneath it? BaRRaCCuDDa has been playing kind of regular hunters up until now, like the Hachiman, but do you want to see a more traditional kind of mage burst at the bottom, or is Nasha still fine even if you don't have huge follow-up after that Nasha ultimate?
As I said, PK played a comp earlier where they had a Ganesh support with the Nasha, which is really good setup. They put a Puck with it too, so they had like insane follow-up on the Nasha. But I think with Kumbha, they have like no setup for Nasha. They need some mage damage, or maybe some Cupid or something, like a hunter that has like a big burst could work too. But yeah, preferably like a big mage damage, I think.
Well, we mentioned this Habwa and the Ullr way back at the top of this set about how those were signature picks for Paul that maybe aren't as in the meta right now. The Ullr worked for him to great success, so can he do the same thing here with this Habwa?
Yes, I think so. Because you think about Hebo, it's like very low wave clear. He's kind of good at fighting as soon as you hit 5, but still the wave clear struggles. But now he has so much pressure coming out from the Fenrir and the Thor, so I think it's gonna be fine. Hebo still, you hit level 9, like something around there, you get like 1, 2 or 3 items. He's still really strong, like probably one of the best late game mages still in the game. So I think if Thor and Fenrir can just help him get through the early levels, I think this Hebo pick can be really impactful.
Paul is set up right now to succeed on one of his classic picks at this point. SK banning away the Chiron from BaRRaCCuDDa. They've been banning it from a lot, even though he's mostly played the Hachiman, as well as the Scylla. And I actually think this Scylla ban makes a ton of sense here, especially with the Najan Kumbhakarna over there for Spacestation.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good point, actually, because we talked that we want some heavy mage damage coming up from the Nasha. I would prefer the mage Morrigan.
Okay, and then the Jingwei, that feels like BaRRaCCuDDa, but you can't play Jingwei in mid, right? So Morrigan's got to be for Andy in the long lane, I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, sure, but that is also weird, because we're talking about who's going to follow up on this Nash ult.
And that's not Morrigan's typical style, right?
Not Jingwei either.
Not Jingwei's either. I mean, the Persistent Gust, I guess, can be there to land, but that's nowhere near the same as like an I'm a Monster or a Crush at the bottom of it. And Morrigan has good transformation targets. A second Amma, a second Naja are good. I just worry if they're going to be missing kind of that big hit from the ultimate that you might want from a mage.
If you remember Cyno at last World Championship when he played Nasha, he would always have Moswal with him playing Zeus, Apu, Agni, something with like a lot of damage. So like he would use Nasha out tanks and he would just one-shot them with the heavy mage. They don't have that now. Can work anyway, but it's a very weird comp for SSG, I think.
It is a bit odd. It feels like it's all set up and then no punchline, right? Like towards the end of it. I mean, at a certain point, you just have enough setup to where even Jingwei damage is fine if you can make it to the late game. But I don't know. I mean, are they too late game skewed then in that regard? Because the Morrigan's not going to be rotating early on in this game, I'd imagine.
If she's dual lane Morrigan she pushed, as soon as she hit level 9, she pretty much one-shots the wave with one of her 2 of the bananas, I like to call it. And then she can just rotate after that, and she has stealth, so like they can definitely rotate, but I'm just worried about this Nasha. Like they have a Nasha Alpha, what are they gonna do with it?
I mean, and there's so much early game between this Fenrir and this Thor in the 3v3. The Xbalanque will likely be for Zap. That's going to be a lot of pressure for Spacestation to be trying to deal with over here on the right side. Whose job is it to alleviate that pressure? Becomes the big question. Spacestation versus SK Gaming about to kick off. Tom's already here, so let's just get it to him.
Sorry, Finch. Oh, apologies, didn't know those mics were live. We're too excited for a Game 4 between Spacestation Gaming and SK. And these compositions, it's going to be another bloodbath. I can see it coming.
NeilMah on one of his quintessentials, the Fenrir support, and of course, that's Paul on the Hebo.
Is that how Paul says it, or how you do that?
No, that's
oh my gosh.
That's what he sounds like in real life.
God, I'm sorry, Mixer Chat, for having to listen to this. I guess in one sense, you might all be hoping for an SK win then, just to get off this as well as I am. Warrior's Blessing being hovered over by Doug, the cameraman, the super cameraman. Round of applause in chat for Doug, by the way. He's been through every single SPL game too. It's been a long year, and he's wanting to get the conversation started with a Warrior's Blessing because he was annoyed with the Hobwar references just as much as I was. I appreciate that, but it will allow andinster to have a bit more sustain in this lane and survivability against this Xbalanque in the other game. Oh, the aggression from this Fenrir.
Yeah, that's just straight up aggression. We see the jump in right away. Expect more of that. Neil's going to jump every single time. I like the 2v2 here in the dual lane. El Clásico.
We're almost back to a standard 2v2. Almost. If we had BaRRa back there, that would be standard of Jingwei versus Xbalanque. You saw the starts on the right-hand side of the map at the same time. Notice how the speed buff is still alive at the moment for Spacestation Gaming because the focus has been elsewhere. The beginning of the game, SK started their speeding into blue, and now the rotation from Sam is towards the middle lane as they let Paul solo down the red buff on his own. He'll hit level 2 off that. And give BaRRaCCuDDa a reality check of what it's like to face Hebo in lane and mid.
Well, it's been the expectation that, listen, I guess the supports are just going to go mess with my speed. So this time around, the first time around, what we saw Cyno do was go ahead and go from back camp to red buff. Just leave speed and say screw it. This time around, with the anticipation, they all started at blue buff and nobody's at speed. So I guess I could finally hit it.
Aggression from Neil again, but no real pressure on andinster at this point. This Warrior's Blessing is really going to help him just weather this early game storm from the Unchained abilities coming out from NeilMah. With a Guardian's Blessing, it's not as impactful as the likes of some of the other potential starters that could give him a bit more power here, but it will give him the sustain that you want and the GP5. It's one of the reasons supports have to go this. Even if you want to go boots early, always pick this Guardian's Blessing up. SMITE, though, is edging ever so closer to this late.
He's got the wall. It's going to be fantastic. One stun, the spin, and that's all she wrote. JeffHindla going down. Last hit to Sam.
It was a nice 3-man stun from andinster, to be fair there, but that was really just well timed. They waited for the groggy strike to go through, and just as it was, that's where Neil leaps, lands on his head, finds the stun, and Jeff pays the ultimate price. Belair will get the second Totem of Ku in the laning phase. Can to be expected Tyr versus Amma in the early game. You'd expect Tyr to try and look for those a little bit earlier on with a bit of a better potent wave clear in those early stages. Sashing mid though will check Paul's positioning and also get those beads.
Nice job there from Paul going ahead and getting out of there because of the relics. BaRRaCCuDDa combines with the jungler, but unable to find the CC. Next time around, that CC chain is going to be dirty.
So that first blood actually did go over to as well SMITE in the jungle, which will escalate his build a little bit quicker this time round, and he'll be able to get towards those boots a fraction earlier. Build-wise for the junglers as well, Cyno going for the blade option here at the beginning of the game, not the boots investment. And it's good to see at least we're back to Assassin's Blessings these days, though, right? That's the big takeaway for me. We've got blessings back on the team.
Well, I love movement speed on Najah, and I think that's really the case here, is that you're able to get in and out a little bit more. Najah's ability to kind of skitter in and out of the team fight is very important. You want to be able to use Sash to avoid some nonsense, then ult around, and then throw around a ring toss, and all that's well and good in the early game if you're able to get a little bit more movement speed, which the Assassin's Blessing will give you post-transformation, and of course a little bit on the stick that he's got right there. That's a nice look. It enables him to just be more mobile and more, frankly, annoying.
Paul, meanwhile, go for the Shoes of Focus start for the extra mobility you're going to need with Hebo in that middle lane position. I think the attention really will be to how well Andy can play this Morrigan for me and whether his transformation targets will be good. Cyno, meanwhile, was rotating on Zapman, has his ultimate up and just has to accept it's NeilMah is the target for him. For andinster to turn into Paul and find the kill. But SMITE's rotation is good and sets up Zapman for one. And he could still be in trouble here. Remember, he's going to de-transform any second. But how is he going to get away?
Well, Andy already used the beads, and so it won't be available. The beads is going to be used by Sam to avoid the stun. Here comes help by the name of JeffHindla.
And I don't know if he's going to be able to find the kill on Sam here, but he will at least peel away andinster from almost certain death there. You know, Sam's mana bar was just so low for so long in that engagement. If he had full mana, it would have been a dead answer a lot quicker. But the fact that he only had ability for one thing, he had to kind of wait around for the right moment, and it never really arrived.
Jeff showing up, though. That was the right moment.
Indeed, the blink. Big play, honestly.
The exact right moment from Jeff here. Jeff on the big boy. Love to see it. Jeff's original favorite god was Bacchus. Now we see him playing up on the Kumbhakarna. Another big boy. Love to see it.
Where is Bacchus these days? Why no Bacchus?
I mean, Bacchus is very much all in, and we occasionally see that, but what Bacchus is also kind of rough at is being by himself in that jungle.
But he's the traditional, original level 1 support invader, right?
Sure, but I think it's once you look past that, all right, he stole a speed. Well, let's just kill him as he
doesn't have
waddles
hog
away.
anymore to make it easier, right?
Also that.
He used to have the belly flop over the wall as his escape option.
Right.
But now he'd maybe have to invest that to clear the camp, I guess, if it's about the level 1 that's the real issue. I think the most recent times we've really seen Bacchus was Polar Bear Mike, funny enough. He's the only one that I've really seen try to make it work. Just not seen too much of the young fat man. The older fat man, I guess. He's got a beard.
Yeah, he's like,
Hey, young kids can have beards too. In the sky, Sam is looking around. I don't think he can get anywhere with that ult, though.
Yeah. Land on
Harpies, baby!
There it is, Season 1.
They were at 6 minutes as well, so it's right on cue.
Yep.
3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes was the
Yeah,
call time.
they'll be up at 9.
That
Gotta
was
make
one
sure to
of
be
the
there.
easiest times of casting that, because you just look at the clock and you go, time is it? Oh, it's mid-harpy time. Let's
Fight
get ready for the fight.
time.
Damn, the right one's dead. Well, let's all just watch the left and see who takes them on.
Oh, man.
And people want to go back to that. Coup is nearly in favor of Space Station. There is 4 so far. I've gone to SK Gaming. Now, I'm bringing up the Coup again because I tried to bring it up in game 1 and we got a bit more of a chance, I feel, in this one. The pros talk a lot more about the Coup than generally most other people because of how impactful this can make the other lanes.
Yes.
It's not as important for this lane specifically, but getting that extra MP5 for the lane in the mid and the left-hand side can really help you to stay in lane a little bit longer and have a bit more survivability and farm because of it.
It's so important for the mid laner. It really changes things. I mean, we have walked away from Mage's Blessing for the most part, which means you don't have as much sustain by way of
That's a good
mana
point, yeah.
as you used to. And so if you're leaving the Mage's Blessing at home, which most people are, this is how you get some of that sustain back. Also, shout out to the junglers. The movement speed that you get on these towers. Obviously, junglers aren't sitting in lane, but as they make their way back, they dip in. That's a 9-second movement speed buff that you get. So that Totem of Coup, it's funny. The solo laners are the one that fight over it, but it's less about solo and more about everyone else.
I was wondering if Neil was waiting for the purple to come up or the gank attempt, and the answer is there. Just as the transformation was used, Beads turns into Hebo, gets away, but the Dogs of Knights. And Ragnarok brings him right back into the clutches. Beads were used on the initial Unchained there as well, so he didn't really have any further escape. But it's back to a game 1 situation here in this dual lane, where we see NeilMah trying to consistently keep the pressure on and allow Zapman to get big and strong on this Xbalanque.
Now, that was a really rough play from Andy there. You know, if you use the beads against Defender, it's like beadsing the chains from Ares. You just know you're going to be smoked after the ult.
I'm trying to work out if he maybe have turned into Thor instead of the Hubwar, but he was a very quick situation, right? I think if he turns into Hubwar or into Thor, he could have got away with the aerial, or even maybe a Lawbringer turn into a Tyr could have been an option, even Aquarius. I just don't think the Hebo was the correct target there, but maybe he didn't have a decision to make because of the fact he'd already had that one hovered.
That's exactly it. The gank came so fast that he just slammed the button. That's going to give you Hebo, which, to be fair, isn't a bad choice.
No.
The ultimate is CC immune, gets you out of jail,
But
and
Fenrir
does damage and pushes you out.
But Fenrir, who is one of the original great gods against Hellboy.
Yeah, and that is kind of front and center what we're going to see here. If you use your beads before Ragnarok, you're just in trouble.
Heal is everywhere, but I guess the same can be said for Serqet as he dunks in for his 3rd involvement in a kill this game so far. SK up 4-1. Gold lead at 2K. It's not 4 minutes in this time, though, that I'm saying that. At least it's at the 9-minute stage. And Space Station a little bit more comfortable elsewhere on the map.
It's still nutty fast.
Yes,
I think that SK, I really meant what I said, man. I think the beast has been awoken. Now, if you're rooting for SK, you kind of just hope they can carry this momentum to placements, and I'm not sure if they will be able to. But last game was a walloping.
Beads from Zapman really set up this potential kill, but you don't stand still anymore. Andinster recognizes that when the Darkest of Nights came through. If you had to stand there, that was a kill.
It should have been a kill either way. Don't forget, Darkness of Nights also extends your basic range.
True.
Zapman coulda, shoulda, woulda. A little bit more accuracy. Zapman lands 2 more basics, gets the kill. I call that a dropped kill.
It was close in cornhole. NeilMah jumping towards BaRRaCCuDDa again. JeffHindla is going to zone him away, but these left-hand Harpies are still alive because of this. The red buff was secured by Cyno on the backside of this fight. Neil's going to be late to that. The purple, however, it could be a bit of a different story. Zapman will get in and out, and as soon as Neil sees that, he'll jump away too. And Samo throw down the wall for a little bit of extra safety here. Those walls are going to be important again here. They do separate a lot of the gods that Space Station have away from the engagements. Aquarius being one of them, but he's having to deal with 2 here.
Eesh, there comes Paul, and Aquarius is going to be shoved into the wall. Nice damage from the Hebo. And like I said, you asked for it. You let Paul go off on the Ullr, and now it's Hebo's time. And he's got the full Doom Orb.
You sound like you're aging when you say that.
Do you? Well, that's because I think of old school Hebo.
When he
the
used to have
old
a
man.
beard and stuff?
Yep.
He's an old wizened version? Yeah.
One of my favorite Smite memes came from that area, but We're going to see Neil make this rotation one more time.
Gee, all I've been seeing is like, where's Fenriv? That's where people are going to die every single time. Cyno trying to slow that down though. Ragnarok used, picks up Cyno. Cyno beads. NeilMah will get out after getting the beads out of Cyno. I guess you can say mission accomplished by the way he played that fight.
Yeah, just able to go ahead, get the beads, walk away. Ragnarok, real scary. And I think this Fenrir support is definitely strong at what it does. If it gets behind, it becomes a liability. But when you're able to just... And see, this is one of those tooltips. Thank you for showing me the damage. Thank you for showing me the movement speed, the carry duration. But really all it says is, dog picks you up in the mouth. That's really what matters here.
Potentially picks you up in the mouth, because there's a few times where you see the dog trying to bite and he can't quite grab hold of a meal ticket he's after, right? Like, I've seen that too many times in Pro where you're like, no, land it, please. Uppercut in the jungle, though, from Jeff onto Paul. Paul screamed for help and got the darkest of nights. But Andy shows you what it's like to play against Hebo for Paul. But now on his exit, he could be pressured out. And just as he de-transformed, Neil's there, but the stealth was available. And Jeff had the epic uppercut still to keep Neil at bay. Now Zap will fall down to BaRRaCCuDDa. Space Station Gaming starting to answer back here.
As they should. And that's Space Station
Cancel
Gaming,
that.
not just punishing.
Oh, this is punishment.
Nice job from NeilMah. But more importantly, that's Space Station Gaming making an offensive play, going into the enemy's jungle, and that's good to see.
But it's taken SK's own momentum against them almost for being so deep and using so many abilities and getting overly aggressive, but SK still on the hunt for more, trying to take away the purple buff and pin people down. Neil forced to use the Ragnarok away there, just in case. We saw the tooltip, you know it's got more mobility.
I like the roll on the R.
I don't do it often.
You don't.
I save it because otherwise it'll get old and people get annoyed by it, you know?
Well, it's also like Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
That's
yeah.
like Norse. They're Scandinavian. The history there is like the Germanic tribes over there in the middle of Europe. So they don't really roll their R's.
They do. I mean, Ullr, right? But I can't do that one. I can only do it with the R's at the start of the word, not at the end. That's why I'm like, I don't even try the Ullr. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. My brain doesn't function that way for some reason. Why is it always
You
with
could have
words
ended that
with
sentence like 2 words earlier.
Ullr.
No, the one after that.
What are you waiting for?
You said, my brain doesn't function. And I said you can end that sentence there.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I see where you're going with that. 40!
Are you offended?
No. Why can I be? I'm never offended. What can I? No one offends me. I don't know why people don't realize that. Say what you want at this point in time.
You know why?
I cast video games and get paid. I'm quite okay with this.
You know why I can't offend you?
Because you're effed up.
No, because you're the savage.
And you've got a tiny desk. I've
You're
got a bigger
a
desk.
what?
I've got a bigger as a desk, and you know I said desk. Don't even get down that path. Tier 1 tower is down on this right-hand side as well because of Aquarius. The pressure from Belair has opened this up onto Aquarius. We saw him fall down to Paul a little bit earlier on. And this tier is becoming a little bit problematic with this 2-level lead at this moment in time. He'll also take away the blue. Meanwhile, Cyno's on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, that's where you'll find the rest of SK Gaming.
SK Gaming saying to Space Station, how dare you kill our mid laner by his own red buff. Our turn, and they do exactly what SSG did, but harder. They get the kill immediately, and then they reflect onto the Gold Fury. They see the amount of people in enemy jerseys on the right side of the map, and they go to the left side. Objective, easy peasy.
What a feeling for Belair to just be like, I am diving a tier 2 at level 15 without a care in the world, as I'm also getting free gold for the pleasure of this. Neil's under pressure, but he does a good job of buying time. I think the Darkest of Nights really helped out from Zapman there, and Zap will get credit with a kill onto Andy. Jeff under pressure, passive kicks in, fight for the buff. Fight for the kill, I was going to say, and Paul went, nah, there's no fight here. I will definitely add that one if I can. But sadly, it was Sam for Serqet. In the sky is Neil now as Cyno tries to land the Windfire wheels and does so successfully, but his death is still imminent. This is old school Space Station. Like, earlier on today, I had higher hopes because of how they played yesterday, and the second game looked very good from Space Station. But this fourth one is kind of like the third one. It feels like SK have just beat down Space Station enough where Space Station are back to square one again.
Yeah, rough stuff here for the hometown heroes. Honestly, I think this says, I'm going back to what I said before. It's the amount of confidence, of momentum, of awakening the beat, whatever superlative or weird cliche you want to use, man.
You use a lot of those, so yeah, I get it.
All day, every day. I truly do believe that
cliche.
SK Gaming was able to get this windfall. The beating that they gave Space Station last game has woken them up, and they're able to just return to previous form, a form that we haven't seen since Phase 1.
But then again, I feel like there might be a little bit too much hype behind that because it's against Space Station Gaming who struggled themselves, right? I mean, I guess you've got to find the wins where you can as SK Gaming, and you want to find the boons and the excitement and the benefits of this series. But at the same time, it is against a team that's also underperformed this year.
Sure.
So at least it's a leg up, I guess.
But it's also getting back into the swing of things. It's the mechanic of it all, right?
Right.
Obviously, it's easier to beat up a lower end opponent than a higher end opponent. But just remembering what it's like to have 6 kills and no deaths, you know what I mean? You're just in the mechanic of the routine. You're in physical sports, it's a literal physical movement. It's not a baseball swing or a golf putt, but it's still very similar. It's a rhythm thing, and SK Gaming absolutely got it in game number 3.
You went all the way around and said the word rhythm, and I'm like, yes, I'm with you. Meanwhile, everyone's with Zapman on this left-hand side as 3 members of Space Station look to punish him there.
Yeah, thanks,
but as
dude.
he's getting punished there, well, they're getting punished elsewhere. The Fire Giant is getting low, but hang on, this is going to take a while without Zap. In comes Jeff, yawns on everybody, beads used by a lot, Ragnarok used, Sam is dead, BaRRa gets a kill, Sam kills Jeff, BaRRa avoids the ultimate, gets a double, this could be a quadra. Paul says no, calm it down, we won't get Fire Giant, but we did give Space Station a chance to farm, and maybe even look for a tier 2 here too.
There's a big mistake coming out from SK Gaming. BaRRa laughing. He goes, hey man, I gave Funball a pentakill. I fed myself to the multi-kill gods. Aren't I supposed to get credit for this? And Paul goes, no.
Hey, I'm not. Let's not talk about that pentakill. Not because I dropped it, but more importantly because BaRRa gave it to him. And that I find offensive.
I loved it.
You always run away from the penta. Don't give him. Make him work for those pentas.
Not only did BaRRa run into it, but he looks across the way since our player boots face each other, and he gives the heart sign over to Funball.
Scumbag hunters as usual. Yeah, wasn't all your setup from the rest of your team at all, was it? It was all the carry that got
You want to know
penta.
what though? You want to know what though? Knowing that Renegade's team, there's no way that Space Station Gaming were more willing to give Funball that penta than the rest of his team was, I bet.
I don't know, because they
All
didn't stand
5
up,
of those members.
they didn't stand and watch and let him get the kill. Because honestly, if in my head, I still think Dana should have just.
That's what I'm saying.
It should have been Darnay's too. It would have been the greatest option. Because no one can get upset with Darnay's with the year he's had. We're going to stall off now because with that little opening of the map up, the Fire Giant is clearly not a possibility just yet for SK. But Belair could be an option for Space Station. They're going to run him down to his tier 1 tower. He's level 18 though. This ain't easy when you've only got a level 15 and a level 12 in tow. Cyno trying to blink into Sam. Will get Sam's ultimate, but Sam might go in on Aquarius here.
I want to see him go in onto Andy. Invisibility ends.
He went back mid, so that's fine. Zap, though, is getting a free tier 2 on the left. BaRRaCCuDDa's on the rotation with the passive to try and slow this down, but the extended range this time helps him out a little bit more. BaRRa's not enjoying this trade. This is like old school where he's like, damn, Zap got a 2-level lead on me in lane. What went wrong? Wait, I wasn't even in that lane. Why is this happening?
And Zap clearly not a care in the world, just continuing to basic attack. We've all seen that movie.
Good news is Aquarius is just at least keeping Belair busy from getting towards any of the other carries. But the damage is still being done by SK Gaming. They're on the Oni Fury next. And this is going to put extra pressure on the map, where the Fire Giant is going to be a little bit easier to look for an opportunity at if Space Station aren't aware.
Nice objective there for SK Gaming. Almost a 10,000 gold lead, sitting at about 8K above a Space Station. And this is why they were able to make the mistake, right? That Fire Giant was a mistake, but Space Station Gaming did everything they could, and they still weren't able to bite back enough because of the lead that SK has kind of invested in.
Cyno going to rotate in and find NeilMah. Level 15 for NeilMah up against the 16 of Cyno. And you can see the farm situation is definitely in favor of SK at this moment in time, not just the gold. And that experience is still monumental as the Fire Giant is unleashed. NeilMah going to unleash onto JeffHindla, who uppercuts Zapman and yawns on Paul and dashes away. But Belair says, no, I'll blink you back, throw you in the sky. And Sam will also get up high.
goes up to the left-hand side. Zapman on the run. Still SK Gaming looking for some fun, and everybody's trying to be number one, and he's gone!
And Aquarius will get himself some of the tier 2.
All right, there you go, there you go. That's nice, that was cute.
It's not hard. It's not hard to rhyme.
Yeah, you coming out with your own mixtape here?
No! I won't make any money. They're not going to do anything. Oh, nice play from Cyno just to catch Belair, who was getting very greedy in that mid lane. And now he will be punished for not getting a fire giant around his waist because of that.
Fire giant paid in full here for SK Gaming. They'll go ahead and pick it up. Aggressive is the option.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have called that, but Sam for Soccer knows he's got Paul right behind him. And that's going to be big damage for the mid lane mage. Sam on the run. Aqua goes out to the left side.
Aqua should be semi-okay. The damage from Neil will be okay. Sam closes the gap and cuts him off from a wall, though. Now he's under pressure. And BaRRaCCuDDa, who is there for support, can only watch on as his teammate falls the other side of the wall. And he has to come back to the right-hand side to defend. There's only towers up in the middle lane for SK to look to take down here.
This is the SK Gaming that if you're a fan, if you're rooting for them, if you got a Run SK shirt on, this is what you want to see. You want to see Neil playing aggressively on a weird pick. You want to see Zapman win in the 1v1. You want to see Paul's to the wall, baby. Spacestation are going to fight into it, but I think SK Gaming can handle it.
Never say that again. Never want to hear that out of your mouth ever again. Never. No, I'm done. Cyno round the back, looking for a sash if he can find it. Paul would be a priority target, but Sam for Soccer's in the sky. Andy says, guess what? I can play Thor too. He's going to look for Zap if he can, as Sam did pretty good work there. There is Andy cleaning up Zap as expected, but the Lawbinger from Belair will force the airstrike out of BaRRaCCuDDa. NeilMah on the chase, and Cyno's had enough, so he backsteps and hits him with the Windfire wheels, and avoids the ult out of Paul too, but still falls down for it, 1-for-1. However, SK still have 3 members with this FG buff.
And they're caught in the assassin's dilemma. Am I flanking or just not in the fight? Now, Andy did do a good job of getting the kill on the right side of Cyno, don't get me wrong, but then the follow-up after the fact, he just couldn't find the right point in time. Paul was staying far away, knowing damn well that everybody was going to try and hunt this Hebo down, but he did a great job of avoiding the scrum, staying a safe distance away, and then finding the damage after the fact.
Both builds from the Hunters as well. He's looking like the chins and penetration option is the biggest flavor of the year. And we started off with a bit of Fail Not earlier on, I'd say, around the mid-season. Fail Not really did come into play. But as it's gone on, we've seen a lot more of the execution Assis coming out. And then every now and again, if it's Jingwei, you'll see the crit.
Well, I think, sure, if it's Jingwei, you'll see the crit. The Fail Not is now composition specific.
Right.
A lot of times you just buy Fail Not because that's the build. Now, if you have teammates that could really capitalize on it, right?
Yeah.
I think Cyno can absolutely make use of it. You're going to see the Fail Not come out here for BaRRaCCuDDa. And I like that look because it's going to enable Cyno, who becomes very, very scary, as well as Aquarius. Not even building any crits, sure, but he is going to look for basic attacks. And so you can enable him to kind of have some critical strike as well.
Yeah, I think it was in a spot when it first was released, the Fail Not, where it was a little bit cost efficient anyway, even if you don't look at the passive, right? 20% cooldown on a Hunter is great.
Yeah, the numbers were just too attractive.
And now he's made it just where it's purchasable, but in the right situation. Spacestation at the moment, their situation is trying to barrel down left-hand side and push away. Nobody in mid. Sam went to the sky very early, and he may still dunk down here. He could be in range of BaRRaCCuDDa or JeffHindla. Just out, actually. The focus is on towards andinster, who dunked in and got gobbled up by Neil straight away. Paul with the up-down has the Aegis to follow up. Phoenix still alive. SK limping away for a second as Zap is quite low.
That's all Sam. Sam goes up early and gets all the information in the world. We call it a satellite ultimate for a reason. He saw Andy, knew he was going to flank with the ultimate, and that's why SK Gaming were ready, waited for it. Andy dunked down, they turned and burned.
Bit tricky this to try and take down a middle Phoenix when the other lanes are pushed out as far as they are, but SK are very confident in the state of this game. The lead is good as Belair blinks in towards JeffHindla. Belair taking up a storm here at the moment and causing a lot of distractions, allowing some of the SK members to move in and start whittling down the Phoenix's health bar.
Oh, big damage on a Cyno. Love to see that knock up. It just disables so many different players. The Hebo is the stereotypical glass cannon.
Yeah.
Boy, is he easy to kill. The wet paper is nice. He's able to kind of get out of jail a little bit with the movement speed. But realistically, this guy doesn't have an Agni dash or a jump like anything, so he's easy to jump on. But my lord, is he annoying to play against. He'll just blow you up.
I will say SK not really making too many mistakes here. They're being pretty respectful to the state of this game at the moment. Fall back for the Fury, bait in Space Station, who are looking to try and defend it, and then maybe grab themselves a couple more kills. Belair gets one, Zap gets one, BaRRaCCuDDa does at least take down Paul, but the fight is still raging, and Space Station might get a bit of a window here.
And he is able to take down Z-Man. Space Station is still doing it. BaRRaCCuDDa with a multi-kill. Trouble for Belair as he's in the air. And JeffHindla is able to turn around. And he's still trying to find it. But the Tier Man is on the run. This should kill.
It will. The groggy striking up from JeffHindla to bring him down, getting his first kill of the game. This doesn't do as much as you may want if you're a Space Station gaming fan, though.
No fire.
If you had another member up, you could look for this fire giant, I feel. But at this moment in time, with the health bars where they were, and it's those three characters, I think Neil on his own can cause enough of a problem at level 19 to not be able to do it.
That said, this is a game-tying stop. You're able to defend your middle lane, you're going to push this up. You're going to look for the rest of the jungle, and now all of a sudden,
alive, yeah.
your solo laner is down 2 levels, and that's it.
On Neil this to try and defend for a while, because Belair with a teleport might be able to come up in 20 seconds time. But if he's not careful, the FG could already be down by that. Neil might just have to give this up.
Yeah, he's gonna.
And this was really just a terrible fight from SK, I'd say. Great from SG, because in my opinion, going to contest a Primal Fury is a little bit risky with what had just gone on. But they chase down correctly, find a couple of picks, and this FG will at least allow them to get that middle Phoenix back up.
It's a beautiful play here. Like I said, this is a game-tying stop. They're able to just go ahead. With this Fire Giant, they're unlikely to be able to go ahead and be ultra-aggressive. I don't think we're going to see the momentum of the game shift.
Sure.
But it is absolutely just stopped. There's no wind in anybody's sails.
Keep an eye on that power play thing in the top left-hand corner. I know it's one of the newer things, but at this moment, it's a really good indicator of how much Space Station can climb back into this one, because that is not really net wins. It's just based off why they have the Fire Giant. So you'll see how much of an experience gap they can close, how much of a gold gap they can potentially close during the next couple of minutes.
Fail Not has been finished here for BaRRaCCuDDa, and that just might be the tipping point. Big damage coming out of Cyno. I love the Shifter's shield. I think that is a very big item. And the Masamune, understanding that Cyno is going to be surrounded by players, so he's going to maximize that passive, which of course gives him more, which makes him tankier and tankier depending on how close he is to the opposition. And so that's a nice look there coming out for Cyno on the Naja, who is not only going to be expected to be aggressive, but be expected to be in the middle of every team fight.
I do always worry about some of these late game items though being like Shifter's shield and some of these shields which are catch-alls, right? They do a little bit of health, a little bit of protection, a little bit of damage, right? Sometimes I feel like you should invest one way over the other at a certain point in time, right? Go more tanky, go more defense, not keep this sort of build going.
Well, Shifter Shield specifically, because it is hybrid, but think about how it's hybrid. You are damaging when you jump in, and then once you take some damage, you are tanky. What does Naja want to do? Jump in, all the power in the world, and then get punished. He'll be tanky after that.
Here goes Space Station straight down mid, and Andy's going to get picked up straight away. He's already dead. No chance of escape. The Darkest of Nights came through. Jeff and Cyno get to the back of Zapman, but Zapman is routing through the team. Now with Paul's ultimate coming through there, Aquarius will at least bring down Zap, as Aquarius is now surrounded by 3 members, and the tanky ones at that, zoning him away from his escape route. Jeff will fall, and that will leave Cyno, sure, all alone. He'll take Sam's life on his exit here, and he might, with the shield of regrowth, I should say, and the Talaria boots, be able to escape this.
But the slow from the Lawbreaker is good.
If our Oracles were up there, he could have ring bounced and got movement speed, but I think he could just buy time.
Yeah.
That's what he should be looking to do here.
Yeah, Cyno's going to be dummy fast. He's out of here. Belair, even with the blink, fearless, power cleave, blah, blah, blah. This is, if Cyno wants to live, Cyno can live. It's just a matter of if he wants to waste Belair's time or if he wants to escape.
And all the while this is going on, SK Gaming are pushing down mid lane for that Phoenix. Potentially no end there. I don't think Andy and BaRRaCCuDDa will be up. Those two need to be careful, actually. Because if BaRRaCCuDDa respawns in 2 seconds' time, he could just swoop back in with the support of andinster and maybe kill a Habwa.
I mean, that's the idea here.
Here we go.
See Jingwei.
We're zooming.
Gonna hold back.
He was scared of Neil, I guess, more than anything else. I think it was him versus Paul. He would have taken it. Cyno will eventually fall down. Maybe. Today. Tomorrow. Next day. You know what? Why has Belair not got a shield of regrowth so he could keep chasing at the same speed? That would have been good.
I mean, like I said, this was Cyno's choice. Either you leave, or you allow yourself to be killed because you're trying to waste time.
Yeah.
He wastes enough time for his team to kind of respawn, and then he goes, okay, I'll group up.
I don't think it changed too much, unless he.
No.
I mean, the only thing that could have changed that if he goes back to Phoenix to defend their Cyno and doesn't play Ring Around the Roses with Belair for a while, there's a chance he dies at the Phoenix defending against 3, and they could potentially try and rush for the end with Belair as attack.
Then Belair is there as well, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a knock-on effect.
6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. What are you going to do about it?
Put half of them down, I guess.
Well, I mean,
It's a lot of things I'm holding.
well, yeah, you got.
What am I holding?
I mean, 12? What
One
comes
thing.
in 12?
Huh?
What comes in packs of 12? Beers?
Beers come in 12 packs?
Are you serious?
I don't drink that much beer. Not anymore. America changed me.
That is.
I'm a changed
that is.
man.
No, I will smash this one.
I'm a changed man, except on the odd night. I'm a changed man, except to the end of the season, which it is today.
I'm literally laughing right now.
I do remember we went out a few weeks ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, did have that one night. And that's the one you're going to climb onto. Fire Giant's about to spawn again, 15 seconds away from that one, and it will be an enhanced one now that we've hit over that 30-minute mark, which is a nice window for Space Station to try and take a fight.
Exactly, because this, when you're pre 30 minutes, the Fire Giant is big, he's easy to kill. But once he levels up after 30 minutes, be careful of who you made fun of in high school.
Problem is, though, is SK do have Primal Fury, so the damage they're taking is lesser, and the damage they're doing to it is more. Yes, English. Now the pressure from Cyno onto Sam will at least get Sam to the sky, but he will at least survive. Cyno forced it all defensively, lobbing and chasing, and he got hold of Paul meanwhile. That was a big kill, but Cyno got annihilated by Sam.
The Morrigan with plays like that is what makes the Morrigan so damn impressive. Still, Andy's continuing. That's a double kill for the carry, the Morrigan. Belair will be able to walk away here. 1 player down for Space Station, 2 down in SK jerseys.
Fire Giant's up. Sam's going to fall back. Belair's going to fall back.
Yep.
FG attempt is on the cards. Teleport is up for Belair, though, and he can get back to this fray relatively quickly. And I don't think FG will be down in time. No. Where's the TP? He's holding on to it. Wow, they think he was going to be that quick. I think they dropped the ball there, SK. I think Belair could have been there.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I really and
They've
truly,
got the wards for it as well, right?
I think that was rough. I feel like that's the call that you make if it's 29 minutes. If it is a non-enhanced Fire Giant, that's the call you make. But for enhanced Fire Giant, you got to get there, man. I think that was a missed opportunity for SK Gaming. Maybe I'm using the wrong phrasing, but Space Station should not have been allowed to get that for free whatsoever. That was a dropped ball from SK for sure.
And I think that was mainly to do with the fact that they didn't recognize how Space Station were going to take so long to do the Fire Giant. That's all it was. They thought it was going to be bursted a lot quicker than it was.
Which is what I'm saying. You gotta know that that's not going to be the case. It's enhanced Fire
Did you
Giant.
lag that?
There's
Is
no
that what
Merlin.
happened there?
There's no double hunter composition. Cyno actually does a ton of damage
was
to the
dead,
Fire
yeah.
Giant,
He was
and
dead.
he was dead. So that I don't know. That is a misplay from SK Gaming at the macro level for sure.
I mean, now Game 5's on the cards, right?
Sure.
Possibly.
I mean, that's absolutely a possibility. SK Gaming, let's take a look at the graphs to see the story of the game. This has been SK's game pretty much since 25 minutes, or for 25 minutes. But as soon as they invited Space Station back, all of a sudden, the win percentages have started to ramp up and up and up. And I know there's 11,000 gold. That's illustrative at this point in time. This is largely a tie game, and in fact, SK Gaming are on the defensive.
I was going to say, like, 11k gold can add up in terms of war placer, but power pots, and then you're looking at elixirs of speed. But at the moment, SK haven't sold any of those boots just yet, barring Zapman, who has so far gone for the Odysseus bow as his replacement item. I believe, actually, no, he's probably Titan's Bane. This is a replacement item there for the long stretch of how this has been. And they're all just going to sit at this Phoenix lane. A whole of SK are just there. Look at them. They're just chilling.
Waiting. No reason not to be, and no reason to be anywhere else.
I hate them.
I
don't really. Like, I mean, maybe Zap a little bit, but you know.
Whoa!
None of them have moves like that. in real life, is what I want to put it.
Oh, you mean they can't dance like that?
I don't. Maybe Neil.
Zapman
Neil
is a
and
Long
Sam
Island
can.
clubhead. That dude
That doesn't mean he can
absolutely.
dance. Like, I don't know.
You're absolutely right.
I don't know.
Listen.
If you can't move your fingers very well to win a game, I don't know.
Oof! The Savage!
I'm back, baby! 16 to 25 on the clock. Space Station on the aggressive. The Magi's close coming through from them has really helped them out to weather some of these engagements that Neil's been the initial setup man for, and then allowed Belair to look for the Blink Fearlesses. But it's SK on the back foot from playing with their food more than anything else in my point of view. And Space Station have taken that bit of a window, and now they're on the assault.
I'll disagree. I think this has been an honest game from SK,
Here we go.
and Space Station has just capitalized on some poor decisions.
And he's in the sky right now, transformed into this Thor, looking at Paul, but Paul smelt the danger and dropped the Aegis straight away. Andy responded with an Aegis of his own, but the burst damage is still too much. Andy is dead. Cyno did get a target in the sky. It was Zapman on landing. He's dead. Two of the carries are out of this one.
JeffHindla's low as well, and here comes Belair with the swag flip up top. There's Cyno going to stop him in the tracks, but the rest of SK Gaming continuing to play defense, cautiously pushing forward. Fearless, power cleave, see you later. Aquarius underground. 3 people waiting out for 40 seconds, and SK Gaming pounding the pavement.
I guess dancing wins games then?
Well, that was SK. You just can't walk out there, get caught. How many times have we seen a game be siege just be completely irrelevant because 2 players died trying to get a red buff or something? SK Gaming disciplined there because they lost the lead due to lack of discipline.
That's fair. And then Space Station tried to force fight at that left-hand Phoenix. It was Andy that really engaged it with the ultimate, but he was kind of forced to because once he transforms, it's a waste if he doesn't try and use it, I guess. But he chose the backline Paul to try and burst him down, but Paul smelt the danger, and the Aegis was available, and now this middle Phoenix will fall again. Andy and BaRRa alive.
No Hunter.
4 members alive from SK Gaming. It will be a middle Phoenix, maybe, or maybe not.
It'll be tough. If SK had Zapman, game's over.
Yeah.
And it's not about Zapman being, God's gift of Smite. It's about just having a Hunter, somebody to deal damage to the tower.
But Sam's going to get a bit of free time on this right-hand side. Everyone paid attention to mid. Luckily enough, the respawns are coming through thick and fast from Space Station. And Belair just hung around a bit too long. BaRRa's chasing! And he got a big-time kill there, actually. 66 seconds dead for the tier as the Fire Giant spawns. We're still tied up here, boys and girls, in Game 4. 38 minutes in. I'm still favoring SK for the victory right now, but I do think Space Station still have a shot.
Well, right now, I think it's anybody's game. The fact that SK didn't get the Phoenix in the middle lane, and the fact that Space Station didn't get the Phoenix on the left side means that this is up and down a tie game. Primal Fury will put 1 percentage point onto the side of SK Gaming if you got your abacus out. But realistically speaking, I think whoever gets this fight at Fire Giant wins.
Abacuses don't come in percentages, do they? I used to use one growing up, so I know what they actually are.
New man in the Tigris Euphrates.
Oh, with my little beads going across 1 bead. That's 10. Fire Giant is under threat from Space Station, but look at Zap in mid lane. He's trying to go for a Phoenix and as quick as he can, trying to backdoor and bring it down. He still has Darkest of Nights if he wants to use it, but he's trying to hold on as best he can. Middle Phoenix down. Fire Giant to SG. And now they're hunting for Zap on his exit. Darkest of Nights will buy him some time. Sam for the cutoff with the wall. Great play from SK, but Cyno is still giving chase.
Plus, there's going to be Andy to the sky, the Thor.
Really
Zapman
putting
in
Zap
trouble underground, and now it's a 5-on-4.
But the Phoenix being down in mid, is that worth what Zapman chose to do there?
I don't love it. Not the death. Nothing is worth the death at this point.
Sam's recalling. He was going to split push left, change his mind. Neil getting aggressive, taking BaRRaCCuDDa away. You will not come to my Phoenix line for a while longer. Belair, meanwhile, took a ton of damage on that engagement. Sam is back in the fray. Phoenix under threat from minions here in Space Station Gaming's base, but it's not going to be enough to kill it for sure. Got to be a couple more minion waves required, minimum. Space Station now to the left-hand side. Enhanced Fire Giant means you remove the backdoor protections. You don't need minions. You just need a warm body to tank it for you.
JeffHindla's going to be said body. Here's a little bit of a shell as Space Station trying to get aggressive. NeilMah cut down to half HP. Jumps to the back line still. Space Station cautiously pushing forward.
15 seconds on Zapman coming up. This left-hand Phoenix will fall down. in the sky. You saw Sam go up and Space Station know about it. But they still stay quite far up for my liking after the Phoenix. But Sam doesn't take the bait. The wall double tap hits Cyno and Paul's there with a knock up to make sure. But now Space Station walk away with 2 Phoenixes down.
Big plays. Space Station Gaming fighting their way into
I'm
this one.
surprised by this. Like, I really thought this was in the bag, but then SK are having the same sort of stumbling block we've seen out of him the majority of the year. We've spoke a lot about. They can get off to a really good early game. They can struggle a little bit in the team fights in the late game, in the mid game, but the late game we don't see too much of. End of the year, we've seen more of the late game, and SK have made mistakes here.
I don't even think it's SK's mistake making as they look to.
You think it's more on
Be a little
SSG's
sneaky.
performance in terms of turning this one around than SK making mistakes?
It is absolutely andinster. There were 3 plays that got Space Station Gaming back into this, and all 3 of those plays came from andinster being invisible, coming around, stunning Paul, and killing him down.
Power of a Morrigan, right? Sam's gonna get sashed and try and jump away. Has to beat.
Hey.
Oh,
I'm
it's a
I'm gonna
trap.
quote a great friend of mine. SK Gaming looking for the Tom Clancy. 4 players pushing in. The Titans at half HP. They're going to go for it, Hindu.
And they're going to try and end this one down. Neil's going to carry BaRRaCCuDDa away as his Titan will fall down. 3-1 SK, but my, that was close.
Oh my goodness. The tactics play, just a surprise. Oh man, the sleight of hand. Yeah, we're going to the Fire Giant. Look, somebody's out of position. Go collapse on him. Space Station Gaming take the bait. The rest of the team underground like the hunt for Red October. They show up, they walk in. Oof, you love to see it.
A great way to end the SPL regular season, mind, with a victory for SK Gaming over Space Station 3-1. It was good to see all those players in action today because we will get to see them in about a week and a half's time facing off for their World Championship lives, or the chance to go at least to the World Championships. And they may even end up having to meet up along the way yet again. So it could be a precursor of what we get to see in the future.
Like I said, I think this SK Gaming team has got a lot of momentum here. Whether or not they can carry it all the way to placement week, that might be a different story. But if you're rooting for this team, you're excited about seeing Paul step up for the first time in a long time. It's been over 2 months since Paul's been this successful in a series. So if you're rooting for them, you're happy about that. And then even on the flip side, Space Station don't walk out with the win here, Graham. But today and yesterday, some of the best plays you've seen out of that black and yellow team. I think both fan bases are happy with what they got today.
Gotta agree, Space Station are looking better, but at least SK keep their victory there with a 3-1. Let's get over to Finch and Zeros to break down that set.
Thanks, Hindu and Tom. 19 games of SMITE to close out the final SPL week, man. You couldn't have asked for it any better than this. Space Station get close, but can't quite take down SK because SK pull one of the sneaky maneuver of their own and come all the way through and backdoor the Titan Zeros. I mean, well, I saw you jump up out of your seat for that end. That was a crazy way to close that match out.
What an ending.
Yes.
What a set. I thought SK broke the first pick curse as well, because it was second pick this game.
That's
so
right, yep.
I was almost certain we'd go to 5 games, but... And it really looked like that as well, didn't it? So.
It did, really. I mean, SK were in control of this game from very, very early on this time around. Well, we're showing some BaRRaCCuDDa highlights as he made some nice plays there of his own, but it was mostly SK. I mean, you can even tell here they're up 3,000 gold that were getting this done this time around. They were up, what, at one point nearly 15,000 gold, something like that, and they just couldn't close it out.
Yeah, I think when they lost the first fight, I think they were 15k ahead.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what swung it back into SSG's favor. That one was so back and forth. They got the fire, but then they lost a fight straight after, and they won a fight again and got the fire. And after that, SSG kind of controlled the game, and then SK backdoor. So what a crazy game.
And there were a lot of questions for me around andinster on this Morrigan. I think he did make a couple of individual plays that were big that they needed, but there are a lot more times where it seemed like he wasn't completely comfortable with it. He starts the Warriors blessing in lane. I don't know if that's the correct call. There's some times where he's using the ultimate outside of the fight by mistake. I mean, I just don't know that this was quite the comfortable the pick for him, even though he did make some nice plays.
Yeah, he did fat finger the last one time. That's kind of fortunate, and he kind of ended up dying for it as well.
Sure.
He probably died anyway if he had it up, but he was in the middle of 4 people. If he got like a Hebo transformation off at that point, he would probably have got a 4-man ult, and that could have been big. But then again, I feel like he was also the reason they kind of turned and started winning this fight.
He was.
He would like one-shot it is dancing. He would one-shot Paul at some fights, and like he just did. I think it did in the late game. It did play the Morgan well.
Well, this is what you get with 19 games of Smite in a row. A dance party as SK waited on Space Station to start pushing. There's no way they could have believed they were suddenly on defense in this game. As Space Station, I think, got more FGs than them throughout the entirety of this game, are very, very close. Yeah, that's giving you an idea just how much damage Sam for Soccer was doing by the end of this one.
Yeah, that was also, in my opinion, like such a weird place. You transform into Thor as Morrigan, you dunk in. Like you're gonna de-transform into Morrigan, and you're in the enemy Titan room, and like your whole team is outside of the Phoenixes. So like, obviously weird play coming out there, but like he had some great moments as well. So
he did. I think the back half of the game was much, much better there for andinster as opposed to the start. And you saw how that game ended, man. That was SK Gaming looping around, catching Space Station unawares. SSG assumed that SK would be heading back to the base, trying to fend for that siege was about to happen, but that was not the case here this time. Instead, it was SK that snuck their way in and grabbed that win. These are the final updated standings. These will not be getting adjusted because we just played our last game of the regular season. Rival, congrats, grabbed the first seed across the entirety of Season 6. Not bad for PBM and Panda Cat. Top seed here throughout the entirety of Season 6. The top team in North America as well in Season 5, so they've been on a tear. But here's your overall championship placement bracket. This starts with the console wars that are going to be happening in the semifinals. 4 teams, then they'll go on to the finals, and the winners of those will move on to round 1. From round 1 on, it should be double elimination if I'm correct. That means even if you lose right there in that first round, you're going to drop down to our lower bracket. You can see where the bottom 4 SPL teams are already filling it out, and then the top SML teams actually get to bypass round 1 where they go right in to play against the SPL.
Yeah, gonna be super interesting. So many fun matchups here.
Yes.
I heard that the Sanguine is not playing with your core, which
I
is
did hear that.
kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I'm still looking forward. So many like Simplicity, like all these top SML teams, how will they compare to the SPL teams?
And then your reward for making it through all of that is Splice and Rival. Congratulations! You make it through the placement week bracket, and then hopefully you can be one of the first teams to best these guys because they have looked almost unstoppable up until now, and they're joined by a bunch of other really strong rosters. I mean, I say it every year, and I hope that everyone understands that it's genuine, but I feel like we're at the most competitive point that Smite's ever been. I mean, even down the placement week, are there really any standouts? Everyone down there feels like a legitimate contender for me to be able to make it out of the placement week. And then when you get up here, every team on this page could reasonably win Worlds. If I told you E United was the winner at the end, you'd be like, yep, well, I guess Emo must have popped off or something like that, right? You'd have something that would make sense to you as a reason why one of these teams would be the winner at the back end of that, certainly from any of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, so many good matchups. And as you said, like E United, I had them as favorites. Maybe not anymore.
Sure.
But after they almost swept Rival, like they were looking so good, but then something happened and didn't look as good after that. But like, I mean, any team can take it. Like all the teams are looking really good. And also at the tournament, there's only is it 2 or 3 days?
Oh, the finals is 3. The SMBC is 3 days. Or
3
at
days.
Iris
Yeah.
Expo. Yeah.
Either way, it's like any team can come in and have a super hot week, like they peak just before and like just perform better than ever, you know. So I feel like you can't have a favorite, I think.
I don't think you can. I mean, you could make the argument that both E United Season 4 and Splice in Season 5 got hot right around that time.
Yeah.
Splice were close. They were kind of beating E United in online phase as well, but they really got hot during that final weekend at SWC. So really anybody could be the one that comes out on top here in Hi-Res Expo. But SK Gaming are your winners here at the bottom of this set. Let's go ahead and get over there for that interview.
Congratulations, Neil. Congratulations, Sam. Final game of the season. You know, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the set, you know, I'll toss you the softball. Season 6, very different. You guys live in here, big 26-week season, best of 5s. What was the take? Did you like it? How was it?
I thought it was good, yeah. Fun opportunity to come down to Atlanta, live in the States, live in a gamer house with some of your teammates and friends and get to know each other more personally, I guess. You spend a lot of time online, but getting to know each other and hang out in real life is a lot of fun. So I definitely had a really good year, and maybe not quite the results we wanted throughout the year, but I think at the end of the season we're finishing pretty strong. We're feeling pretty good going into qualifications, so we've been here before, and I think all in all we're feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I guess you mentioned placements is coming up as well for you guys. What's the big motivation? Obviously, I'm going to be like, what's the big motivation is to go to Worlds, right? But like, what's the main things that you're going to be working on during the downtime between now and placements to improve and be ready for that sort of situation? Because it's kind of a different beast.
I guess nothing really new from what we've been trying to work on this whole season. I guess basically mainly like team fights and our communication as well are the main things that we need to work on, but it's pretty much the same stuff we've been trying to get better at, and I think we have been progressing pretty well. So I think we're kind of getting to our like peak stride right at the time of placements, which is nice.
You guys have historically been a very momentum-based team. We say up and down, right? You finish 0 plus minus right there in the middle. But rhythm, momentum, you guys seem to have picked it up. A little bit of a lull in the action a couple of weeks ago. You guys feeling confident about what you're able to do. Do you think you'll be able to do what you did last year at Worlds?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now our practice has been going really well. We have been kind of up and down, but it seems like we're coming up at the right time, right before qualifications. So we definitely feel really good. We think that if we can just work on a couple of different things during the qualification and see where we can come to, I think we'll be a really strong team. Like you said, I think we're pretty momentum-based, and since we're doing pretty well right now, I think we have a really good shot to scare some teams, upset some teams in the eyes of the viewers. So I think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Last question. You get the momentous moment of closing out the SPL this year. Any shouts at any fans or friends at home before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, just shout out to SK as a whole. They've been a great organization. Basically on us everything we need, and then shout out to just all our friends and family and all the fans. Yeah,
sponsors, some Game Fuel, some T-Mobile, Where's the Mercedes logo, Yeah, big shout out to everyone who support us throughout the season too.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing your support. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we can show you some more good stuff coming up soon.
There you go. What a great close. Thanks so much, Neil and Sam. That's it, though, from the SPL. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. We'll see you all in 2 weeks' time for placements.